Everyone present, Octavia?
Yes, they are.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the March 8th Ferguson City Council meeting. We have our openings ceremonies. Meeting is now called to order. Let us stand for a silent prayer. We have the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Noah,
Here.
Councilwoman Griffin,
Here.
Councilwoman Burrow,
Here.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Here.
Councilwoman Lipka,
Here.
Councilwoman Nelson,
Here.
and Mayor Jones.
Here, a quorum is present. At this time, we'll open up our public comment session. You had two options. You can turn in your questions by 5 o'clock on yesterday to the city clerk, or you can list in the chat box that you would like to speak. At this time, city clerk, would you call for our public comments? And I just want to remind everyone, you have 3 minutes. Please keep to the 3 minutes. Thank you.
Lorraine Jackson.
Good evening, everyone, Mayor Ella Jones and council. This is Lorraine Jackson. I'm a resident of Ferguson Woods. And I wanted to address to you tonight because of a fictional article that mentioned me posted in the Ferguson Observer News, and it misrepresented the gifting of safety and cleaning supplies filled with totes to my subdivision, Ferguson Woods, from Home Depot. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I don't want the council nor my Ferguson neighbors to believe that some of our council members favor one ward over another. This is why I am speaking tonight. First, I wanted to comment that Home Depot community outreach representative contacted one of our council members to assist them in a community outreach program they initiated. The member they chose happens to be the one that is most present in my subdivision, Ferguson Woods, during non-election periods. Home Depot contacted me and asked me how many homes were in Ferguson Woods. And I told them I had no knowledge as to why they were asking it. I just figured I'd find out later. Home Depot chose Ferguson Woods as a recipient of their community outreach gift, I feel, because we are located directly across the street from them and frequent their stores. But if you'd like their reasoning, then you need to contact Home Depot and find out why they did it. Secondly, the council member that is often arranged for Ferguson Woods subdivision to be included in community and family support assistance in Ferguson, especially during the pandemic, without being asked. We all appreciate her remembering and her concern for us, since we are normally forgotten about, being the subdivision that is located on the tip of Ferguson, actually almost outside of Ferguson. We tend to be forgotten about until election time. There's nothing wrong with a resident thanking their council member for anything. If we all gave more positive feedback, then maybe we'd have more positive outcomes. There are several other untruths I noted in this article. One which was addressed by Emerson YMCA about their policy on political endorsements. And I'm sure if they felt that an employee was stepping out of line, Emerson YMCA is quite capable of addressing and rectifying this issue without the intervention of less than knowledgeable self-serving individuals, such as the person.
Jackson,
Yes, ma'am.
your 3 minutes are up.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Nick Tassoff.
Wait. Okay,
Good evening. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. I want to talk about a traffic commission related issue. And those of you who are sitting at a computer can see the documents I'm going to discuss by going to yourferguson.org/cash. As you know, we've had some issues keeping a quorum on the traffic commission because people get sick and can't be there. And we didn't have a full commission appointed. So there's been some hullabaloo and some strife with getting that done. And finally, on February 8th, the council members from the third ward finally appointed their people to the board. One of the people who was appointed on February 8th was Donald Cash, and that was done in a roll call vote with the support of Councilors Griffin, Nelson, Noah, and Mayor Jones. Mr. Cash's application to the commission indicates that he resides at 5922 Bermuda Drive. Now, we have checked the tax records and confirmed that 5922 Bermuda Drive is indeed Mr. Cash's address. We also confirmed that address in the voter registration files with the Secretary of State. 5922 Bermuda Drive is not in the third ward of Ferguson. In fact, it's in the city of Normandy. Now, Ferguson Ordinance 44-31 requires that traffic commission members must be residents of the city. I don't know who is responsible for vetting these appointments.
His time is up.
But it's shameful
Wait,
that
Mr.
we are
Cassoff.
still short members because you don't even know where the city boundaries are. Thank you.
Your time is not up. I don't know who stated your time is up, but your time is not up.
Oh, how much time do
Okay.
I have left, Mayor Jones? I'm
You
sorry.
have almost about 40 seconds, 40 to 50 seconds.
Okay. Well, so look, we just want to get the traffic commission rolling. And I'm happy to have somebody from the third ward. I know there was other people in the third ward who had applied. So I hope, since one of the two people that was passed through on the February 8th meeting lives in the city of Normandy and not the city of Ferguson, I hope the council can somehow make this right this evening and get us a resident of the third ward city of Ferguson to serve on this traffic commission so we can get a quorum and get to work. Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Cassoff.
Next is Erica Brooks.
Hello, City Council and Ferguson resident. In the last City Council meeting, the City Manager Eric Osterberg reviewed the results of the ARPA funding form, which reflected the community's perspective of how the ARPA funds should be spent. However, as a community, we haven't heard how the City of Ferguson's overall plan is to be itemized and where the funds are going to be designated. In addition, I asked what have my city council members, Heather Robinette and Tony Burrell, submitted to be of importance in Ward 2. I also asked will previous projects be considered that will not able to be funded by federal, state, and local grants and tax dollars, and will it be considered first instead of the suggestions of the residents? The city has yet to answer those questions. Secondly, I have the City of Ferguson assess the socioeconomic effect of Via Metro ST Louis versus the access of Metro bus route 79 on the west side of Ferguson, says bus route 61 and 74 still servicing the east side of Ferguson after 7:38. I also wanted to find out what was the summary of the redistricting meeting on February 17, 2022. I also went to Fire Chief John Hampton on the 24th, asking him about the city of Ferguson's disaster and emergency plan to find out if the plan was updated, because last year when I was running, as I said before, I went to just inquire about it because other communities were having town hall meetings and updating their community about their plan. And he told me that you all are still working on it. And I was mentioning, being that things are happening like they are in Ukraine, it's nothing but a turn of a missile to where we'll be in the same situation, but not know where to go, how to access resources, and what to do. So I figured what needs to be done is that plan not only needs to inform the city of what to do, but it needs to inform the resident to know what to do in order to help each other. And also, I just want to say, when it comes to the different meetings, I went to the Civilian Review Board meeting last night, and it was a discussion about when the community should be participating in the meeting as far as giving feedback. Now, that board was created because of the consent decree and providing a voice of justice in the community. And I think that what they should do is review their way of including the community's voice, because we need to be heard so that we can know that justice is being served. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks.
Mildred Clines.
Mildred Clines, 7444 Castro Drive, proud to be a Ferguson resident of Ward 3. Good evening, City Council. Although Ms. Naquita Nora wasn't the candidate I initially supported, she won the seat and has been doing an outstanding job answering to and serving the community of Ward 3. I support her now. That's what people who really care about their communities do. They work together with each other the best they can, not attack one another, nor try to tear the ones with whom they disagree. Trust me, it makes you look bad. Our city council meetings look and sound like a circus. Maybe this is all intentional on the parts of some. I don't know. As Christians, the Bible says to love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully use and persecute you. Now, if you're not a Christian, I understand that maybe you cannot see your way to doing these things. To everyone else, we should try. Pastors, ministers, watching and listening to these council meetings, I expected that you would have spoken with compassion and wisdom by now to the city council. I would also say it's not proper to attack residents that speak because they don't share your perspectives about the conditions in the city. That's their perception and their opinion. If they don't see the progress in the area where they live, can't the council kindly and respectfully educate the communities about the progress that's being made in their neighborhoods? Being attacked for speaking or sharing our perceptions make ordinary residents not want to speak or participate in the process. Ms. Brooke, a resident in particular, didn't deserve to be treated the way she was at the last city council meeting. We can agree to disagree, and we can do it with respect for one another. I remember council members pledging to work with one another and the newly elected Mayor Jones, even though for some of you, she was not the candidate that you supported. Since I've been attending these meetings, I have not seen the spirit of working together or cooperation. Maybe our silent prayer before the start of each council meeting should be prayed out loud so we know what's being prayed for. Yes, I support our mayor for being determined to make Ferguson better by being more inclusive, by making the decisions that will benefit all of Ferguson. Last, I support the Republic Services. They have provided excellent trash service. I appreciate the phone calls, text reminders, holidays, and delayed pickups. One day a trash can, after he dumped it, the trash can fell over. The driver got out, stood it back up, and drove. And other companies and municipalities, they just keep driving. So I
Mr. Klein.
support them. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Adrian Shropshire.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I would like to give a suggestion to the council, or rather to the mayor. When 2 minutes comes up and we're speaking, would it be possible to let us know, like Mr. Shropshire, you have 2 minutes? And then that gives me a perspective on, okay, I got to get my stuff together and hurry up. I want to commend the women on Women's Day today. And I have a special woman today that I want to let you all know about. 1950, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. She started working, worked her way to a systems analyst at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Graduate from Capital University, Alpha Nu sorority. Retired 38 years with the government, GS-14. Then went into subcontractor for training Air Force pilots on train the trainer program, in being able to come off your high horse and break the information down to the recruits that are coming in. Because when you have a position, it seems like you're the best, and I don't have a problem with that. And then all of a sudden she became a facilitator in a jobs program and church deaconess. And the woman of the day is my mom. There's a lot of women around that are doing great things. And during the war, the women carried the torch. And I'll move on now. I want to say, Chief, you're doing a great job.
2 minutes, Mr. Shropshire.
Thank you. You got ran out last week. They accused you of different things, Chief. And condemnation before investigation, it makes us look sort of, oh, I don't know. We know. So I just want to let you know, I apologize for that, and keep up the good work. I would like to see the women come together and work towards a great city. Sometimes I don't enjoy coming to the council meetings because there's so much inner bickering on the dais. I really don't. I haven't missed a meeting, but I'm talking from my heart. I don't enjoy the meetings anymore. And I hope that you take this from a person that rarely misses a meeting, but I'm here for the city and I will continue to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shropshire.
Next, we have Jerry Knoll.
Thanks, Octavia. Madam Mayor and council people, I wanted to make a follow-up on my comments from the last meeting about the need for the Ferguson Civilian Review Board to have some more board members pretty soon. We have one opening currently, an at-large member. And then at the end of June, we're going to need a member from Ward 1 and a member from Ward 3. And I mentioned that last time. I also wanted to encourage the council to not use as a criteria for choosing, for appointing based on the sequence that the applications come in. In other words, if you have more than one, if you have 3 applications, don't say, well, we're going to take the one that applied first automatically, but take your time and choose the candidates that have the best qualifications in your opinion. I'm hoping that you'll have multiple applications to choose from. That's one of the reasons I'm on speaking tonight, so that residents and people on at the council meeting will hear, hey, there's a need for board members on the Civilian Review Board. And I'll probably be on every council meeting just to remind everybody about that. one good way for people that are interested, if you're to get acquainted with what the board does, is to all of our meetings are on Zoom, so they're very easy to attend now. You don't have to go anywhere. And we post our agenda in the Zoom. Our meetings are on the first Monday of every month, and we post our agenda, and the Zoom links are on the city website. And we also post them on our Facebook page, which is, you can find it by Ferguson Civilian Review Board, by hunting for that. And also, we're going to have a town hall. We originally were going to do it on the 15th, Tuesday the 15th of March, but we moved it to Tuesday the 29th from 6:30 to 8:30. And we're going to review at least 3 videos from the recent Mccall, National Association for Civilian Oversight of
2
Law
minutes,
Enforcement.
Jerry.
2 minutes? That was,
Yeah, I
that was,
got one more. Okay.
okay, great, thank you. That was a good suggestion, Adrian. This works really good.
It was.
So anyway, so we're going to have a town hall on the 29th of March. And if you want to learn some more about what we do and how to apply, come to that. And again, that's posted on our Facebook page. Thank you.
Where's your town hall at? Is it going to be Zoom or somewhere in person?
No, it's Zoom. Yeah. So yeah, our meetings are Zoom, just like the council meetings. Our town hall is going to be Zoom, so easy to attend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last we have Annette Jenkins.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, council. Here you go again. A resident of Ferguson is often seeing the tension between political figures running for different office. Though I understand that people with different opinions will run for different reasons, their best allies and their best values. I am tired of the name swearing that seems to proceed over what really matters. I have several examples, but the most recent one I can think about is the article published by Nicholas Castle, calling to question the why affiliation with Councilwoman Phaedra Nelson. This article seems to attack Phaedra and some political counterparts, as well as her connections with the Y. The article is insulting that she would use the Y to get into office. However, my time in this community, I have seen Mrs. Nelson heavily involved in the community years before I heard about her wanting to run for office. The article mentioned that the member of who were not a part of political fiction were not invited, when it seems as though the people present at these events are just one who makes themselves available to our community. The fact that our focus is written in articles, supposed to be, about political hostings, whatever, rather than what can truly benefit this community, will continue to make me feel like those who call themselves the leader of our community.
2
And
minutes.
do not, 2 minutes, okay, and do not have pure motives. It makes it hard to trust. It is already rumored that Nicholas Castle and his supporters are not fond of majorities. However, if in the support of this community, I could care less what his personal beliefs are, who he is doing and working with. I will put my energy and focus on overcoming the things to fix these problems that make it harder for us to trust each other. I want the leaders that care about making the city safe and welcome all people, not leaders who continue to divide and bias on political ties. I'm through.
Thank you. You stopped right at 3 minutes. Thank
Thank you.
Clerk Pittman, do we have anyone else?
No, I do not.
Okay, thus in the public comment session.
Mayor, may I make a request that we amend the agenda to make an appointment during our consent agenda section, subsection C? Because
There's
right now
a,
we have no appointments. So I would like to make an amendment to the agenda to add one.
there's a request to amend agenda to make an appointment. When it's time for appointments, is there a second?
A second. Tony Barrow.
Okay, all in favor to amend the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the agenda is amended to make an appointment, okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, at this time, we'll have our manager's report. City Manager Eric Osterberg for his report.
Good evening, everybody. First up on the manager's report today, we have Chief John Hampton with our COVID-19 update.
Mayor, Council, always a pleasure to be in front of you on a Tuesday night. First off, I wanted to say yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of COVID in the St. Louis County area. Today, we received notice that there are 77 positive COVID cases across 14 hospitals. But that's a big improvement. On January 21st, we had 675 patients across those 14 same hospitals. So we are heading the right direction. The daily average of COVID positive cases in St. Louis County is 65 a day currently. The Department of Public Health still recommends preventative measures, which are getting boosted, having your vaccine, and getting tested if you are feeling symptoms. Again, we need to try to remain social distant. We'll continue wearing washing our hands frequently. And if you feel sick, make sure you're getting tested. That's my COVID report. I do also have one other thing I talked to city manager about. I would like to briefly discuss the city emergency operation plan. What that is, the Ferguson emergency operation plan, it describes the roles, responsibilities, and operations of the city and the departments during a major emergency. So this plan is on a national response framework of the Homeland Security, and it works within St. Louis County, the state of Missouri, and then the federal government. Our council recently did the NIMS program that didn't have it, and we will continue to do that for the city. Harry Dilworth, or Captain Dilworth from the police department, myself, along with Erica Arts, who is an emergency management specialist, have been working on the emergency operation plan. This is no small little feat. The last time we upped this program was in 2012. So there's a lot of information. And what I told Ms. Brooks was, I didn't want to put information out there with the current plan that is not true. So once we get this plan updated, it will be on the website for everyone to view. Mayor and Council, and that's my report.
Thank you, Chief. Councilwoman Lipka, you have your hand up at this time.
Yes, ma'am. Chief Hampton, I was going to ask you, what do you think is the main contributing factor to only having 77 cases versus 600, you said, in January?
You know what? That's something I can't really speak of. I mean, it's like everything has kind of just dropped off. I don't know if it's run its course a bit, the Omicron, but you know, there's more people with more knowledge than me that can probably answer that one. I can see what information I can give up or gather up, and I will send it to you.
Okay, I was just wondering if you had heard any commentary from some of your other sources that you work with.
Not really. I mean, everybody's kind of, you know, just, there's no real definitive answer of why we've had such a big drop.
Okay, as long as it's happening. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else has a question for the chief?
Mayor, Council, I also have one other thing that I'd like to bring up is I know people are worried about, you know, getting involved with the community during emergency response time. There is a program called CERT. Right now, it's a North County region-wide CERT, and it's based out of Florissant. We have not had classes or new registrations since COVID has started. So it's been about 2 years since a new class has come through, just because we cannot get together, and it's more of a hands-on training. It looks like talks are going on right now to start. CERT will be starting back up. So I will be putting that out on our websites. So if anyone is interested in joining North County CERT, stay tuned for more additional information. Mayor.
John, thank you so much.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor. John, I am a CERT, and I am grateful that you have put this out there for us. And I encourage anybody that is listening that they would become a CERT, because we, in the last tornado from, I think it was like $500,000, we served senior citizens that did not have insurance. We kept them from having to pay out over $500,000, and that was recorded. And that comes from the volunteerism that we do as CERTs. Another thing is that if you're not able to make these meetings, it is much better to do it one-on-one. But if you're not able to make them, you can go to Washington, D.C. website and take those courses online. And that's been happening for the last 3 or 4 years. So I encourage everybody that's able to do it, to do it. I do have to say, Heather Robinette carries a backpack that is just as heavy as my CERT backpack. So it's a case where you can stay ready at all times. And on many occasions when there have been climatic weather, then all of us as CERTs, we carry our packs in the car, because we never know when we might be needed or dispersed. Thanks so much, John, for putting forward.
Thank you, Jim.
City Manager.
Thank you, Chief. Up next is our community policing update from Chief Mccall.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's always a pleasure to come before you, as well as the community. I know since the beginning of this year, I've been going off of each month and referencing the comparisons of, say, January 21 as opposed to January 22. I'll do that again on today with February of 21 as opposed to February of 22. But I'll also give the comparison of both months, comparison of 21 to 22, to show where we are now as far as the deterrent and increasing of enforcement. Unfortunately, last month in February 22, we did have one homicide. In 21 in February, we had no homicides. Our incidents and calls for service decreased from 1445 in 21 to 1328 in 22, which is minus 8.097%. Our burglaries went up 25%. In February of 21, we had 4, and we had 5 in 22, or last month. Our assaults decreased by 33.33%, which is 15 assaults in 2021 and 10 in 2022. Our domestic violence numbers, as last month, have been increasing, be it if it's due to the environment that we're in now with the COVID and people more so inside. But in February 21, we had 16, and in 22, it went up to 19, a difference of 18.75%. Our disturbances went up also, 100 last year as opposed to 103 this year, which is a 3% increase. Auto thefts went up 21 in the month of February last year as opposed to 26 this year, which is an increase of 23.81%. Our traffic enforcement went up. We had up 81.25% compared to last year. In the month of February, we had 32 incidents of traffic enforcement as opposed to 58 last month. The one comparison that really goes back to what we're talking about with the changing of the environments within the region is a failure to yield. And basically that is when an officer attempts to stop a vehicle for a traffic violation or any violation. In February 21, we had 0. Last month, we had a total of 9. Auto accidents with injuries went up 37.50%. We had 8 in 21 as opposed to 22 last month. Auto accidents without injury, however, went down 52.86%. We had 70 in February of 21 as opposed to 33 in February of 22. And leaving the scene of an accident, last year we had none during that period, and we had 6 last month. Our total accidents within our community were down. We had 78 last year. We had 50 this year, down 35.90%. This topic here I'm talking about with our shots fired. Our shots fired, and when I say shots fired, these are the telephone calls where people will call 911 and things of that sort. Our shots fired in 2021 were 79 for the month of February of last year, and there were 28 calls for shot fired last month. The problem that we run into is with ShotSpotter. There were 50 in 21 as opposed to 61 last month, which is an increase of 22%. And our total shots fired for the year, for the month of February 2021 was 129, and a total of 89 for February of this year. That was a decrease of 31.01%. And also I want to note that with ShotSpotter 21 and 22, we had an increase of 22%. Basically, the software is making us aware of areas within our community where shots are being fired, regardless of being notified by 911 or hearing it firsthand ourselves. The combination of 21 and 22, the first 2 months of the year, basically our incidents are down 8.385%. So which is an increase a little over February's. That was 3,220 calls for service in February and January of 21. And we went down to 2,950 within the same period. I'm happy to say our burglaries are also down. In 21, we had 25. And in 22, the first 2 months, we've had 11, which is down 56%. Our assaults remain the same, still down 33.33%. We had 24 in 21, the first 2 months, and 18 in January, February of 22. Our domestic violence still remains on the increase. In 21, there were a total for the first 2 months of 26. And for the first 2 months of 2022, we're at 40, which is an increase of 53.85% in domestic violence. I will, however, say that our overall disturbances are down 16.21 within the first 2 months comparison, 222 and 21 as opposed to 186 in the first 2 months of this year. Our auto thefts are up 16.98% in comparison. Basically, we had 53 in 21 and we had 62 in 22. These are the first 2 months as well. I will say, however, our traffic enforcement was up 92.48%. The first 2 months, we have 92 incidents of traffic enforcement in 21. And in 22, we have 178 within the first 2 months. But also our failure to yield, which I stated before, was individuals that will not yield to the police vehicles trying to make traffic stops, are up and arousing 566.67%. Basically, the first 2 months of last year, there were 3 failure to yields, and these first 2 months, we've had 20 failure to yields. Accident with injuries were up 57.89% within the first 2 months, as opposed to 19 and 21 and 30 and 22. However, accidents without injuries are down 43.79%, 153 as opposed to 86. Leaving the scene of an accident, we've had 11 this year. We had none last year. And our total number of accidents within our communities are down 26.16%, where we had 172 in 21 as opposed to 127 in 22 for the first 2 months. I will also go to the shots fired. I'm sorry, shots fired. Without the shot spotter in 2021, for the first 2 months, there were 262 reports. In 2022, of the first 2 months, there were only 75 calls. So to show the value of the software with ShotSpotter, there were an additional 50 in 2021. And in 2022, there was an additional 153 notifications, which was up 206%. But overall, our total shots fired reports are down 26.92%. That's 312 last year as opposed to 228 on this year. That's pretty much the data that I have. I will touch on to give you guys an update on our hiring process. Basically, we have two potential individuals for our police academy in background as we speak. We have another officer who has completed everything. He has his physical on Thursday and then the chief's interview. Hopefully by Thursday afternoon, I'll be contacting the city manager and to offer employment for this individual. So we're still moving forward with hiring quality people to be police officers. We also have another individual for the police academy who is in background. That's a total of 3 individuals for the police academy that are in backgrounds as we speak. We have another officer who's already post-certified who have just completed successfully the polygraph, and they're being scheduled for the psychological sometime next week. We have another individual slated for the police academy that's in the process of their psychological as we speak. And on today, we had a citizens panel interview where another individual slated for who's interested in becoming a police officer would have to go through the police academy, just completed his citizen panel on today. And once we get the waiver and conditional offer signed, then we'll be beginning the background investigation on that person. So as I stated before, our hiring process is continual. I remain optimistic, especially in comparison to where we were as to where we're going. So that's the police update. Are there any questions?
Councilwoman Lipka?
Yes, sir. Hi, Chief McCall. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I've heard I heard everything you were saying, but I have to admit, I was kind of getting lost on the starting police academy in the pipeline for the academy and then so forth. So bottom line, how many new officers have we hired? How many are in the pipeline?
Okay, we've hired, since I've been chief, we've hired 4 new officers. Hopefully Thursday will be 5. Right now, currently in our pipeline, we have 1, 2, 3. Currently in our pipeline, we have 7.
Okay. And out of those 7 in the pipeline, how many are like some of them are going through the police academy as we speak, which means they should be coming on board as soon as they're done. So how many are, like that?
No one is in the police academy yet. The initial class begins in April. We do have a seat in April, which is conditional on the one applicant completion of the psychological eval. Okay.
The other question I have for you is you were going through the numbers of the decreases and increases in the various categories of crime. What, in your opinion, are we doing right? And what, in your opinion, do we need to keep working on?
Well, I think the one thing in my career that I've always seen and have learned, that basic visibility is definitely a deterrent.
Say that again.
Basic visibility is always a deterrent for crime. So we've adjusted scheduling and things like that. So we have more officers in certain areas of the city. So they're seen. Another thing is that when people see officers out on the street, be it if it's having conversation and enforcing traffic laws or whatever, those that might be up to no good tend to take alternate routes and will go elsewhere and not bother coming, into Ferguson. So that is pretty much, where you want to get to a point, whereas because the streets talk. So you want to get people on the street to be able to say, well, hey, I don't mess around in Ferguson. That the police are out there. They're visible. They're doing this. They're doing that. They talk to the community. If people think that there's no communication, then they will do things at their leisure. It's the same thing with certain crimes. Basically, if it's easy for a person, they're going to do it. I tend to use the example because of the weather, and it's cold, and we'll tend to want to like to warm our vehicles up. Well, we've all seen on these different communication apps where you got the people walking around playing with the door handles and and things. Those are crimes of opportunity. So
Okay.
with us working together and communicating with one another, a lot of these things can be deterred, and we can continue to see a lot of these percentages go down.
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that we had 20 failure to yield so far, and we've had 11 leaving the scene of the accident. What can
No.
we do to deter that? I mean, I personally think we need to have more traffic control. I think we need to, this is where the traffic commission becomes very important. But what are your plans for lowering those numbers?
Well, I've spoken before in reference with with the failure to yield. And we've talked about software, which I'm still in the process of getting information on, which is so that if a vehicle does fail to yield with this software, we can pretty much track that vehicle. Once by attaching something on that vehicle, we can track that vehicle. We have the traffic charges, then we can go to where that person resides and tow that vehicle. And that person will have to come and get a release from us, at which time the violations and things like that can be addressed.
Okay.
That would be that. And you mentioned the leaving the scene of an accident. Honestly, when it comes to that, the main thing that I can say to the community, because if a person strikes your vehicle and they don't want to stop, they're not going to stop. And I don't think it's anything that the police, unless if we're sitting right there, can do to stop them from leaving. But it would be great for that person who's a victim of that accident, even if you get a decent vehicle description, license plate, and while they're leaving, instead of shouting at them, call 911 so we can get the word out there. People have to remember, we talk to ourselves, but other people talk too. And so when they cross that boundary and go into another city, we can get that information to them, especially if it's an injurious leaving the scene of an accident, because then that heightens the level of severity to make that apprehension.
Okay. Well, I will tell you, when we have our traffic commission, we will have a presentation that one of the members of the traffic commission has brought forth a software program and a tool that we can use to track cars and their speeds and that kind of thing. So if you can make it, that would be awesome, because I think you'll be impressed with what this citizen has found.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Hi, Chief McCall. This question is either for you or for Mr. Osterberg. I was wondering if we could get an update on the dispatch recording system.
Okay, it is functioning. As we speak, it is functioning now. It has been repaired, but we have not had any additional problems with it. And we're currently looking for an updated version of it as well.
So whose responsibility was it to check that? Like, I just want to know, just for clarity's purposes, whose responsibility was it to check it to make sure that it's on?
Well, it was on. It was offline, but it was on. The 911 recorder and the system never stopped like having power to function. It just did not record. And that's due to you have equipment that requires maintenance and different things like that, and with maintenance schedules and things of that sort. The problem is for us is that we're in the process of trying to update and upgrade a lot of equipment that we've had for quite some time now.
Okay, so who is it that checks that to ensure that it's actually properly storing?
Typically, when it comes to like a daily check, there is no like daily check to go in there and say, okay, it's humming or it's working. Typically, you might do maybe once a week or something, check your recordings to make sure that things of that are showing, but it's not like a daily schedule that is set to go in there and look at the 911 recorder. No.
So it's not like a standard every quarter or every 2 weeks or is just as whenever an issue comes up and you have to refer to it?
No, it's not. I'll put it like this. It's not where the every other week or every other Tuesday, we're going to go in here and do maintenance and things like that on the software or the recorder. First off, I don't have people trained to do that. The thing that we do is that when you go in the same platform, like we have a printer as well, with our 911 system. Now, either at times we'll go in there, we'll check the printer, make sure there's paper in there, because we got hard copies of the 911 calls as well that are printed out. So you do have a backup to verify that the call comes in. But as I said, those are like printers that are, like your word processor type printers. So is there something where it's the 4th of each month? No.
Okay, that's good to know. That's really good to know. I mean, I do believe there needs to be some periodic evaluation, especially when it comes to systems that store and contain data that we may later need to pull up. Like there needs to be some kind of process or procedure or periodic evaluation to ensure that that is up and currently running, not just plugged in. And I know that's not you, Chief. I know it sounds like you don't have, like you said, you don't have anybody trained to do that. So that would probably be something, sounds like it would have to do with the IT department.
Well, the thing that we're doing now, just like I said before, because of that incident that occurred, we're looking as far as upgrading, to find something that is a little more, not per se self-sufficient, but is more current for us. So you would get, say, hypothetically, where you might have a icon or whatever on your computer. So if something is going wrong with that system, then you'll get an alert,
Okay.
or something like that. So that's what we're looking at. Just like I said, it's a lot of things that have been in that building for quite some time. And now we're in the process of trying to update and upgrade the tools that are, essential for us to have.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Mccall?
I have my hand up, Mayor.
Okay, all right. Councilwoman Burrow.
Thank you. Couple of things, Chief. That's what you just got done discussing is a point blank SOP process. And with an SOP, it would point directly to the IT.
No,
Thank you for muting. Okay, continue, Councilwoman Burrow.
Thank you. And so, Chief, I would suggest that you take a look at John Hampton's SOP is probably the best I've seen. I studied it last year to the nth degree, and I'm amazed that he's making some improvements to it, because I would have sent it out to the nation the way it was reading. So kudos to you, John, for even working on something, because John has showed me what we will be doing when Ellen and I get together about the SOPs. And Ellen, if you don't mind just writing that down, the SOP for the IT for Chief Mccall. Another thing, Chief Mccall, I got a question for you. When you're doing the hiring, how many of the, is there an opportunity for those that are applying for police officer jobs here in Ferguson? Do those folks come ready to understand or already know anything about the consent decree? We have a link that anybody that should be applying, if they don't know anything about the consent decree, I don't understand, because that is one of those situations where, well, I don't want to get into that, but could you answer that question for me?
Okay, well, that goes into one of the things when when say like if you wanted to work at a department, say Ferguson, and they have a consent decree, those are things that we look at to see if the person has really prepared themselves for the process itself. I mean, just like you said, it's on the website, it's out there. You have that. You got a lot of people, honestly, that don't know what a consent decree is. So when we
Let me
do
say
our
my-
interview with them, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Out of the 5 that you've hired so far, was one of the questions that they were able to answer was that they at least knew that what the consent decree for Ferguson was, or that they had gone to the website, the interview process. Do you talk to them about the consent decree? That's my
Yes,
question.
yes, the consent decree. Yes, it does come up, and the question typically is asked is if they're familiar with the Ferguson consent decree. And things like. And then when I do my final interview, I have that discussion and conversation with them as well, as far as the requirements and the fact of us being held at a higher standard than a lot of other agencies because of the consent decree, but not just because of the consent decree, but because of what we deserve here in our community.
And so what I'm thinking is that anybody that is newly hired officer understands that their job hangs in the balance in regards to the consent decree. Because I find because if you know that the consent decree dictates that you should have your body camera on when you go into a certain situation and you don't have it on, and oh, I forgot that was part of my job, that consent decree dictates that we're supposed to have body cameras on. And so that's what I'm saying.
Okay, well,
okay,
no, that is like a portion of, but also that's also in our rules and regulations as well. Granted, the consent decree wants that and does that. That's part of when you have an initial hire. That's part of their police training process as well. Also,
okay.
when you have a new hire, they're in front of that computer. One of the training things with the consent decree is that they have to, even if they read it before, they got to go back through it. Once they become a member of the police department.
That's what I want to hear. The other thing
Yes.
I'll leave with you, Chief, is this. I understand all the stats that you gave out tonight, but for those that don't understand the stats, and I'm just talking for my constituents that don't understand the stats, after a while, it may become wallpaper. You got a certain design in the wallpaper. You look at it after a couple of weeks, and guess what? You can't tell one pattern from another. And so that's the way I see, even though I am used to the kind of statistics that you give out, some people are not. So I would suggest that a quarterly statistics would be a better benchmark / comparison versus what we've been seeing in your report. I just would say for you and city manager might want to consider that to me, for the everyday Joe Blow, would be the statistics of a quarterly / comparison. City manager, is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Chief, I'm just saying that to me would warrant somebody really understanding the numbers that you gave out.
Right, and the reason that I did the first 2 months, because typically I would do quarterly, but the reason that I did that because we're here to give people an idea of what the trends are in reference to starting with the beginning of the year and things of that sort, because we hear a lot of different things out there. So with the data, you can show, yeah, that's true here, but this trend is going this way, and it's been consistent for the last few months. But I do concur with the not just with the quarterly, but also people are visual. So it's my intent also to with the graphing and things of that sort as well.
Okay, so I think that I think that for me, and probably for a lot of others, that we got the gist. And and if that's okay with you guys, I think that the folks that I'm hearing from would love to hear it on a quarterly. And
Okay.
thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other questions for the chief? City manager?
Yeah, so I have one item for my city manager report today, and that is the scheduling of our public ARPA meeting. City council, my recommendation would be is that next Thursday that we hold a special session for you all to bring forward your ideas for ARPA. At the last council meeting, I had mentioned that we needed a meeting, an opportunity for city council to bring forward your ideas, or maybe people that you're hearing from in our community who might benefit from ARPA funding. So my recommendation would we hold that public meeting next Thursday, and then the actual allocation of those funds for ARPA, that dedication would be dealt with through our budget process.
So you're saying next Thursday, March the 17th? Is that
Can we back up just a second, Mayor? Eric, is there a possibility that you could give us more than one date to choose from? Because I personally have to work.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess I would just look to council when your availability would be, next week or the following week.
Yeah, I'm not wanting to put it off very long. I just unfortunately can't.
And the reason why I'm recommending that it's separate from the next council meeting is because the next council meeting, we had items that we moved from a special session that we moved ahead of this council meeting to the next one. So I want to be respectful of that person.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a funeral on the 17th, so that isn't going to work either for me.
Well, okay, just let's send some dates to Octavia, and she can put them together and see what date will be feasible for everyone. Okay?
Sounds great.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Burrow, you still have your hand up?
I just raised my hand, but I saw that Octavia had her hand up, so I didn't know if you wanted to answer first.
Okay. Octavia?
No, I don't have my hand up.
Oh, okay. I didn't think so. Okay.
Oh, it's for me, it's saying it's raised. I'm sorry. I want to know from Eric, when is the deadline to submit a request in the budget?
The deadline is the end of. I'm not gonna guess that, but I believe it's sometime before the end of the fiscal year. I will get that exact date to you.
Okay, would you do that for me? Because I have something
absolutely.
to submit. Thank you. And I will be submitting it in writing. So thanks so much. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I needed.
Okay, City Manager, you have any other information you would like to share with us?
I do not. That will conclude my manager's report for today.
Okay, thank you for the manager's report. We will move on to our special presentation. City Manager?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Up first, we have an update about our parks master planning process. Dave Musgrave is here to give that tonight.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, City Council. If you recall, in October of 2020, we started the RFP process for our Parks Master Plan. It's taken us a little over a year to finalize that, but this evening we have with us Larry Reynolds from Vireo, who is the company we selected in that process. He's got a short PowerPoint presentation he's going to present to you guys this evening, kind of go over our final presentation and see if there's any questions, but this is pretty much the final product. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Larry, and I believe he's going to share his screen with you guys and kind of go through that process.
Thank you, David. Good evening, Mayor and Councilwoman. We're excited to present to you tonight the draft master plan for the park system. With me tonight is Elsa Fisher and Jesse Myatt with Barry Dunn, who are also part of the project. I'm going to share my screen here. Get this going. So tonight, we're just going to cover what was in the plan. We talked about community engagement efforts as part of the plan. We'll go over some recreation programming analysis, parks inventory assessment and analysis, action plan and funding, as well as financing alternatives, revenue strategies as well. I'll mention that the recommendations that you'll find throughout the plan really are representative of the voices of the community. So our community engagement efforts included a number of focus group meetings, neighborhood association discussions, and a statistically valid survey. The statistically valid survey, we had a total of 313 responses. That gives us a precision of at least plus or minus 5.4% at the 95% level of confidence. Overall, there was a total of 27 questions in the survey. Overall satisfaction we found from respondents was that 55.8% were somewhat satisfied, and just about 25% were very satisfied. Overall, quality of parks, respondents reported almost 56% were felt that they were good quality, and 9% felt that they were excellent quality. About 34% said that they were in fair to poor quality. We asked a question of what prevents people from using Ferguson parks or programs. And the top two answers were safety or security concerns and lack of maintenance or repair of existing facilities. And those somewhat correlate with each other. You can see over here to the right, the dark blue bar are the responses percentages that we got from Ferguson compared to the national means below. We asked how important is it for the city of Ferguson to provide high quality park facilities. As you can see, 75.7% said it was very important, and another 21% said it was somewhat important. The top priorities for investment for parks and recreation amenities is shown here. The high priority items are nature and hiking trails, indoor running or walking track, paved trails, natural areas for passive recreation and wildlife benefit, indoor fitness, senior center, picnic shelters, community gardens, playgrounds, and teen centers. For recreation programs and activities, the top high priority items were adult fitness and wellness, aquatic fitness programs, programs for active adults, ages 50s and 60s, senior programs, outdoor and nature education programs, cooking programs, community special events, general enrichment programs, and free drop-in programs and classes. Elsa is going to talk a little bit about their analysis and the recreation programming side of things.
Thanks, Larry. So the first thing we like to do, is there an echo?
We hear you good.
Okay, good. So the first thing we like to do is review the demographics. So what you see on the slide are the age groups on the left, and then the census data from 2010, information from 2020, and then predicted population for 2025. So all of the youth age groups are expected to decline slightly, with the adult age groups expected to increase slightly. And the largest age group predicted for 2025 is those ages 35 to 44. So we like to start with staff and talk about challenges. Next slide, Larry. And some of the things we learned were that the Ferguson Community Center can be a challenge in that it's difficult to find. It's not on a public bus route. There's no room for spectator seating in the gym, and parking is limited on the site. Marketing was also mentioned as a challenge. And if you noted on the slide that Larry showed a couple of moments ago, some people don't know what's offered. So it's difficult to get the word out. And then recreation staff are often providing marketing for other city departments. In terms of staff training, there's some customer service training that used to be offered by the city that has been discontinued. So the staff are kind of on their own to get everybody trained. And then from a budgeting perspective, staff have to keep their own records. They don't get any information from the finance department. They don't have access to the enterprise software system. And then reimbursable programs are all in one budget line item. So staff can't track revenue and expense by specific program, which can make things difficult. So staff have identified the core programs in Ferguson as adult programs, aquatics, camps, fitness, seniors, special events, teens, and youth programs. And you can see with the chart, or the pie chart on the right, that 51% of the programs are fitness related, 20% are youth rec, and then followed by seniors and adults. So the next thing we like to do is look at the population compared to the programming mix. So you can see on the slide that 29% of the population in 2020 was 29%, and the programs offered was 47.8%. So more programs offered than the population makeup. For adults, it was kind of the opposite. So 43% of the population are adults, and 29% of the programs offered were designed for adults. So 14.5% difference. And then the seniors, 27.6% of the population identify as senior, and the programming was 16.8%. So this would be an area where staff should look to increase adult programming, which was true based on the survey results, and maybe thin back the programming for youth. So we looked at programming for 2019. 243 programs were offered, and the participants attracted was 2,200. And 93% of programs were canceled due to no enrollment, which is fairly high. And part of that is people aren't learning about what's going on and they're not registering. So the most popular programs, seniors at 675, camps at 526, and before and after care 279, and aquatics at 247. So we have a series of recommendations for you. The first is to offer programs in local parks. And this is getting people out in their neighborhoods. And since people aren't often coming to the rec center, it's another alternative. We're recommending that you eliminate all non-resident fees as a way to attract participants. Creating partnerships with the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, and FYI. And part of it is figuring out what they're really good at, letting them do it, figuring out what you're good at and focusing on that, and seeing where there's room to collaborate. Strengthening the relationship with the local schools is another recommendation. Stopping offering what hasn't worked and hasn't attracted people, and getting staff to focus on some new items. Work with participants from successful programs to learn what they want. So after the camp program in the summer, which is very popular, getting parents out and finding out what else do they want for their kids. And then as participation and revenue increase, look at adding a marketing person so that you can get the word out about programs. And then working to balance the programming mix with the population breakdown. And as Larry mentioned, indoor fitness and exercise are at the top of the list of what people are looking for. So promoting the facility heavily and offering specials and free classes. Now I'll turn it back over to Larry.
I'm going to talk a little bit about our park inventory assessment and analysis. We were out in all of the parks and recording an assessment and inventory of each of the park amenities throughout them. In the master plan, you'll find a cut sheet for each park. It will give you just kind of some basic stats and inventory information about the park on the left side. And then on the right side is a level of quality assessment that we did, identifying key issues in each of the park and some recommendations. We've put some budget numbers to what those recommendations may cost as well. With each park is a concept and recommendation of improvements. We also did a gap analysis and distribution of parks analysis throughout, and found, if you look on the left side, the distribution of service areas for neighborhood parks, which is a 10-minute walk or a half-mile radius. And you can see that there's some gaps throughout the community with neighborhood and mini-sized parks, but they're also accommodated through community parks, which have a much larger radius. We looked at the level of service overall based on data from the National Parks and Rec Association, and identified a need for 6 additional acres of parkland to come in the form of neighborhood parks. We see that coming down in the southwest area of the community along Suburban Avenue from Plaza 501 west is sort of a floodplain area. And this is right along the future Moline Greenway Trail, would be this area in orange right here. Overall system-wide goals and capital needs. In the back of the document, you'll find an action plan with 5 goals, and these are really driven by the responses we heard throughout our engagement process from the community. Number 1 was improving the perception of security in parks, updating aging amenities throughout the parks, strengthening existing partnerships and building new ones, improving the quality of maintenance and beautification of parks, and improving efficiencies in the recreation programming side of the department. Overall, we identified $12 million over 10 years in capital improvement needs. Jesse with Barry Dunn is going to talk about the financial findings as they went through the department.
Great. Thank you, Larry, and good evening to everyone on the call. Yeah, over the next couple of slides, just going to go through a brief overview of the cursory look we took at the operational side of things. So these numbers won't be reflective of any of the capital information that Larry was just going through, but wanted to get just an idea of the current services and charges environment and some opportunities to perhaps generate some additional revenue in the future. We took a look at 33 different fee applicable programs that are currently being offered, consisting across the wide variety of offerings that the department currently provides. Elsa went over a few of those core programs and the most popular ones. We identified and assigned about $2.1 million in total funding and almost $1.4 million of estimated cost to those programs and services. And we'll break those down a little bit further as we go a couple slides deeper. But in looking at that, the fees and charges environment, just those programs that are generating revenues by the ways of fees and charges are generating about $123,000 on an annual basis. And that's putting what we term the cost recovery at about 9.1%. And we'll look at that a little more. Graphically, we can kind of get a look at what that looks like. Here at the top right, we see our $123,000 in revenue. And we really pull out just those expenses to generate that total cost that are applicable to those programs and activities that are generating revenue. And we're looking at about $1.4 million million on an annual basis to run those programs. And of course, we can see that translates into a subsidy of about 1.2 million, or that 9.1% cost recovery again. And subsidy often has a negative connotation, and I just want to caution the folks on the call here. It doesn't necessarily have to be. It's not a good number or a bad number. It's your number, and that's the information we can use to move forward. And looking at that, and we can kind of see since 2018, we looked at that fees and charges environment across 4 fiscal years, and we can see that there was a slight trend downward beginning from 2018 to 19, no doubt exacerbated in 2020 to 2021 by COVID. We can see things kind of falling significantly there, and everything we looked at is just, it was tied back to participation levels declining, the difficulty in offering programs and services and things of that nature. So certainly more related to the macroeconomic elements out of the control of the department, rather than poor financial management. We didn't really see any red flags on that front. So in looking at that, in coming together and putting together some plans and recommendations of, how to get a little bit more revenue generation on the books, should the city decide to go in that direction, just looking at, developing a policy around cost recovery and really taking a closer look at which programs and services should be charged with generating revenue, and which programs and services should carry a larger subsidy. Perhaps those provide a greater benefit to the community. Looking at new fee additions in the future, if the department chooses to offer new programs, activities, and services, which of those would be applicable for fees and charges to generate at least some revenue coming back or close to the full cost of offering those programs. And in doing so, we always encourage, if you're going to update fees or adjust things, or of course add them, that you kind of come back and look at those on an annual basis. Make sure that they're in line with the revenue requirements from a budgetary standpoint, but also are reflective of the community ability to pay and customer demand. And ultimately looking at those alternate revenue sources. This is especially important for the department. As Elsa kind of alluded to, there's a relatively small fees and charges environment at the moment. So really looking to external sources in generating either funding or revenue that is not fee related. And finally, on these last 2 slides, we just put together a couple of scenarios that could be utilized to go ahead and start developing that new fees and charges environment. If the department chooses to develop activities and programs and services, they can be placed in these buckets, if you will, to go ahead and say that these types of introductory or intermediate classes should recover about 50 to 60% of the cost providing them, versus kind of up there at 11 o'clock, your rentals and permits. That's more of an individual benefit or a smaller group use, and those should be less tax supported and really should reflect covering almost 70 to 80% of the cost of providing those services. So this can be utilized to place any of those future activities or current activities, programs, and services in to really begin understanding that environment. And then finally, Elsa alluded to this a little bit, looking at exactly that fees and charges environment. Is what we're doing, does it fit the mission? Do we have a good market position, or is somebody doing it better, cheaper, faster? And do we have to exit that? We want to certainly look at expanding the things we're doing well and that are providing the most community benefit. Look to partner in those areas where we may be doing it well. Somebody else in the nonprofit or another partnership sector may be doing it well, and we can kind of combine to realize some of those efficiencies. Or just get out of the program or service altogether and reallocate those resources to things that we are doing well and expand those throughout the community.
That is a brief overview of the Park System Master Plan. We would implore everyone to take a minute to read through the document. And if you have questions, please let David know and he can forward them on to us. With that, are there any questions tonight?
Councilwoman Robinette.
Yeah, quick question. In Elsa's presentation, there was an item that stated eliminate all non-resident fees. And I'm just curious what non-residence fees. What can answer that. Yeah, okay. No.
Traditionally, when I first started here, we had a fee structure that was based on non-residency, resident, and members when we first opened the community center.
They're finding that by charging a non-resident fee for people who live outside of the city limits of Ferguson, we're deterring people from wanting to participate in the programs potentially because they're having to pay additional fees for not residing in the city limits. They think we can increase the numbers of participants by charging a flat rate for the program regardless of where they live.
Okay, that's what confused me in that statement because it says all, so it looked like non-residents weren't going to have to pay anything, but the residents would. So, okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Just uniforming the process.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Councilwoman Lipka?
So Dave, on the, going back to Elsa's presentation where she said the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA and things like that, you know, the Boys and Girls Club, they also mentioned the fact that we don't have seating in the gym. What is the real possibility of doing something like that? Because I know the Boys and Girls Club is absolutely gorgeous and there's plenty of seating in their gymnasium and that kind of thing. And, you know, what do you envision there? How do you see that happening?
I really think it's going to be starting from square one with several of those organizations. A good example would be the Emerson YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club. We've had discussions in the past of partnering on programs, that sort of thing. But like they alluded to, we really need to figure out what programming they're doing well, what we can do well, how we can share resources. A long time ago, we used to partner with the Ferguson Florissant School District for volleyball, and we had our volleyball leagues in their gymnasiums. We kind of got pushed out there as kind of days went by and things happened. So we've moved things around, changed things. There's been a lot of change in leadership in the school districts and these different agencies. But I think it's just bringing everybody back to the table and just starting those discussions from square one. I think that there are opportunities out there, especially when it comes to deficiencies that we have, when it comes to our gymnasium and athletics and that sort of thing. We just need to kind of figure out what's going to suit all the organizations the best and how we can move that forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, city manager?
Yes, I have a question for, I'll direct this at Larry. So in your presentation, you mentioned that we should consider cutting programs that are not successful. What metrics are you using for that? Is that like, you know, say we offer a program for 5 years and we see kind of declining interest in that program? I was just wondering if you could offer some more specific examples.
Yes, I'm going to let Elsa or Jesse respond to that.
So there were many programs where there was no registration. So after several seasons of no registration, stop putting it in the guide. Don't waste the space. Don't waste the time planning. Don't, you know, just stop doing it. So that focus was on programs where there had been zero registration.
Thank you.
Any other council members? Back to you, Dave.
Thank you all very much for the opportunity to work here.
I just want to say thank you to Larry, thank you to Jesse, thank you to Elsa. You guys did a great job. I think the community engagement was wonderful, and we appreciate the work you've done here. So that's everything we have for the presentation. If there's no more questions, I'll hand it back over.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank the work you did. Okay. City manager?
Yes, let me pull up my notes real fast. All right, so up next, City Council, we have I would like to make a recommendation to City Council about a potential business license revocation. So in the charter, what it lays out is that if there is public nuisances or violations of some of the agreements that businesses enter into with us by having a business license, some of our expectations, if there's a significant violation of those items, the city council, by recommendation from the city manager to city council can then go ahead and suspend or revoke a business license. So today, what I've brought forward is our code enforcement supervisor, Gene Diaz, and then Tim Harris from our police department to kind of go over the reason why we're making this recommendation to city council for 929 Airport Road, also known as Cousins Market. Gene, would you like to start?
You muted, okay, you got it.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. I'm here to discuss 929 Market or 929 Airport, which is known as Cousins Grocery Store. So based on some information that we received on February 22nd at approximately 11 a.m., the state revenue enforcement arm of the state revenue services conducted an undercover buy of loose cigarettes at 929 Airport. They bought 6 loose cigarettes, which is a violation of the Tax Act. Along with that, we had the following day, I went back to gather some more information on what had happened or them selling the cigarettes. And we found out that the business has changed names or changed hands a couple of times. And we really couldn't figure out who actually owned the business itself. We are in the process of abating several nuisance violations, garbage. They're serving food in an area which I don't believe is conducive to the clean delivery of food. I've contacted the health department, and along with them, at some point soon, we are going to go in there and do an inspection. So that is my part of the statement. I'd like to turn it back to City Manager. Thank you.
Yeah, so some additional information that we have to bring forward related to the nuisance issues at, again, Cousins Market is from Lieutenant Tim Harris. Lieutenant?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My checking the records of all the calls that we've received at Cousins Market or Jenny's Market, we've received 147 plus calls for service there. The most important or the most serious of those offenses, besides removing people or people intoxicated and things, I've got a list of the more important and serious incidents. There was a murder that began there on the edge of their parking lot just a few this month in February. We've had 4 auto thefts in 2021, 2 assault first degrees, which is in Missouri is attempted murder. So we've had 2 of those, 6 overdoses between so far 2021 to 2022 of this early in the year. And as the chief talked earlier, we also had 1 failure to yield, reported failure to yield. This vehicle was a stolen vehicle. As the officers pulled on scene, it took off, failing to yield going into Berkeley's venue. That doesn't count for all the times we've pulled up either on our own or called by the ownership to remove people. And when doing so, the cars take off and there's shots fired near the area and the parking lot will be completely empty if we're in the area. So we have to take time to clear their lot multiple times during a day. And that's, like I said, 147 calls, and the more serious incidents with multiple incidents of shots fired and the murder with the assault first also.
So City Council, that concludes the presentation from staff members. Procedurally, what would happen next is we would bring a resolution before you if you are interested. Moving on with the kind of the section of the presentation, I would love to hear feedback from City Council on this matter.
Councilwoman Lipka.
Kind of, you can count on me, can't you, Mayor? Mr. Harris, didn't we also have most recently, and I don't know if has anything to do with this business, but it was in that area, which makes me concerned that it's the clientele, so to speak. But didn't we just have a accident where they went through the barber shop next door with their car?
Yes.
So, yeah, so I mean, I personally have drove down airport and like seen major, not major, I don't know if they're major or minor, but I've seen multiple drug deals. So I'm like, oh boy, okay, cool, that's yay, you know, but it's not yay, it's very sad, but you see that quite often.
Okay, Councilwoman Griffin?
I'm sorry, that wasn't on purpose.
Oh, okay, you took your hand down. Any other council members? Councilwoman Robinette?
I appreciate you guys looking into the matter. This is certainly not a business that is drawing good clientele or trying to rid the area of folks that are making it a nuisance on the property. So Eric, I guess, do we have to just come to an agreement that this would be a resolution in front of council for the next meeting, or?
I believe so. I
more
spoke
to that?
briefly with the city attorney, but I would look to him just for clarity.
Okay.
I looked at you when she said it and you shook your head.
Is he on?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Hi.
the idea is to have the presentation come to council now, and then once he gets some idea of the direction the council wants to go, then he can present a resolution to you at the next meeting.
Okay.
So I know that we currently have a business that's under suspension, so to speak, till June. I mean, is that what you want to go for with something like this, or are you wanting to close the business down completely? The concern I have is the business that has the suspension. Okay, you know who they are, you know who owns it, you know who to talk to, you know who to hopefully see some changes from. This particular business, I'm concerned because there's been, as you said yourself, there's been so much changing of hands. It's concerning to me as to whether or not a suspension will actually do anything. So what do you recommend?
So what I would say is that a couple of things. First, we do have I'll look to Gene Diaz on this one. We do have a nuisance hearing at our municipal court for the business owner. So that process alone should help us establish who the actual owner of the business is, because they were summoned to our court. So we should pretty soon here have that pinned down who the actual business owner is.
Okay. Robinette? You finished? Oh, okay. So you have a nuisance hearing scheduled for this business?
Gene, we have a court date, is that correct?
Correct, City Manager. We have a court date of the 25th.
This month?
Yes, the 25th of this month. The three individuals who we think are kind of trading ownerships back and forth have been summoned to be at the court with a translator.
City Manager, are you planning on having your recommendation made post the hearing?
Yeah, we could wait until after the nuisance hearing, and then I would, it looks like Tanya would like to weigh in as well. Tanya, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that that date isn't correct. It wouldn't be the 25th. It wouldn't be the 26th. It wouldn't be, it would be the 15th or the 29th.
So it's on a Tuesday?
Yes.
Yes.
So it looks like we're looking for a resolution in front of you in April, City Council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Tim. John Hampton. John Hampton's going to be able to provide some just additional information about Airport Road that he responded to in his EMS capacity.
Yes, Mayor, Council. Also, on the 19th of February, we also responded to a child struck by a bullet, and we believe that the shooting came from that area as well. So we've also responded to numerous overdoses in that vicinity and that building, and so that's the only other information that I have for you.
So for clarity, you said you responded to a child getting grazed by a bullet, or?
Oh, the child was shot.
Oh, did the child survive?
Yes,
Okay, good.
but I believe is paralyzed at this point.
Oh my God. Okay.
But I don't know the whole outcome of it.
And then City Council, as a final note, in your packet today, we included some images from a shooting that occurred at the business in question. It's confidential because the shooting is under investigation, but we did want to illustrate the kind of violence that we're seeing at that business. So please check your email, double check your packets, as we've Lieutenant Harris and Gene Diaz were able to provide some image, I believe, kind of illustrating some of that harm. And with that, we have our marching orders, and that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. We close the special presentation. We do not have any public hearing tonight. We move to our consent agenda. The City Council meeting minutes, we don't have any, but we have meeting minutes from the Board Commission meeting minutes. We have one from the Civilian Review Board, January the 10th, 2022, the Farmers Market Commission, November the 17th, 2021, Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program, December the 7th, 2021, Redistricting Commission, December the 30th, 2021. I'm requesting a motion and a second to receive and file the committee minutes.
So move, Mayor. Linda Lipka, Ward 1.
Frank
Frank
Griffin,
Griffin seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. We receive and file the committee minutes. The agenda was amended for appointments. So at this time, Councilwoman Linda Lipka, you have an appointment.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to appoint Sarah Fletcher to the Traffic Commission. She is a Ward 3 resident. She has turned in all of her paperwork. She lives in Ferguson. She's up to date on everything. So I would like to go ahead and fill that seat and appoint Sarah Fletcher.
Okay, is there a second?
A second, Mayor. This is Frank Griffin.
Okay, great. It's appointment by council. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Sarah Fletcher is now a member of the Ferguson Traffic Commission. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. At this time, I am going to request a motion and a second to table the liquor license approval to follow the bill number 7221. A motion and a second?
So moved, Mayor. Linda Lipka.
Noah, second,
Okay.
Noah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We move to our resolutions. Resolution number 2022-09. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Carey, could you please read the resolution?
Sorry, I was on mute.
That's okay.
Resolution number 2022-09, a resolution selecting a contractor for the demolition of 9315 West Florissant Road, awarding the contract to said contractor, and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract on behalf of the city.
City manager, please explain.
Yeah, we'll actually give the floor to Dave Musgrave.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening again, Mayor. Good evening, Council. This project goes back to 2018, I'll be honest. This is the Park Community Grant for the community park on West Florissant. I sent out an RFP about a month ago for demolition services to finally take down the old coin car wash at this address. We had 4 bids come in. The one that's in front of you tonight is the low bid at $17,500. That amount is budgeted and actually a little more in the grant application, so it's within our means. This is basically just awarding the contract to them so we can get that structure taken down and move on to our next phases. More than happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, is there a motion and a second for approval?
So moved, Mayor. Linda Lipka.
Adrian Nelson, second.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Noah,
Aye.
Councilwoman Griffin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Burrow,
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nelson.
Aye.
Resolution number 2022-09 passes. Resolution number 2022-10. Without objections, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Carey, could you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2022-10. Resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract between the city of Ferguson and Greens HVAC to replace the heating and cooling system at City Hall.
City manager.
Yeah, City Council, this is pretty self-explanatory, but we have Public Works Director Don Boyce here to go into greater detail.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is a contract to replace the cooling unit in the City Council downstairs. I'd like for us to move forward so we can go ahead and order this unit and the coils that go with this unit. It's taken about 3 to 4 weeks for parts to come in. So I'd like for us to move forward so that we have cooling, air conditioning, and before we start having in-person meetings.
Hey, Mayor, that means we got to get rid of the block of ice and the fan.
Yes, and we could get back in chambers. Amen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. A motion and a second for approval.
Oh, I so motion this one.
Attorney Burrows, so moved. Second.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Griffin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Burrow,
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nelson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Noah,
Aye.
Resolution number 2022-10 passes. We have resolution number 2022-11. Without objections, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Carey, could you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2022-11. A resolution of the City of Ferguson, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Republic Services for solid waste collection.
City manager.
All right, good evening, City Council. So tonight, what we have before you is the resolution authorizing me to enter into a contract with Republic Waste Services for the next 5 years to be our waste provider here in the city of Ferguson. What I wanted to provide for you tonight is a breakdown of the bids that we got. I will mostly be focusing on pricing. So what you have in front of you right now is a bid tabulation that breaks down the basic level of service, which is one recycling can, one refuse can, and then yard waste included. So these are all included in the prices listed here. So Republic came in effectively the lowest. I'm going to give one caveat though. If you'll look over on Waste Management's proposal, let me actually make this full screen. I forgot that I did not do this. Oops, excuse me. Right here where my cursor is, Waste Management, they actually said that they can get us citizens a monthly charge of $21.15. However, that does not include yard waste. Now, we have a couple of concerns with this. One is that with the code issues that we're having recently, I think it's really important that we don't make it an incentive for people not to be able to clean up their yards. That is one of the most frequent complaints that we receive, especially during the spring and the summer seasons. So my concern is that if we withdraw that service and require them to pay for it separately, that we're going to see an uptick in those code issues. Second, it actually makes the cost of yard waste go up if we require them to citizen or residents to, when they need it, sign up for that monthly subscription fee. So what that would be is that they would pay the $21.15 for the rest of the service, but then $11.40 for the month that they need to access the yard service. So it would effectively be an increase in cost, which makes the offer from Waste Management, in my opinion, not as lucrative as it might seem otherwise. So regardless of that, what that means is that Republic Waste effectively comes in the lowest. Some other notes of comparisons, we asked for what it would cost the city in addition for the annual spring event to help us with that. Republic indicated that there would be no charge for that. Meridian indicated that there would be a $5,000 charge, and Waste Management came in with no charge as well. Senior citizen discount, Republic was by far and beyond what we really were expecting. They came up with a 50% rate reduction for our senior citizens. Meridian did not offer one. Waste Management only offered a 10% reduction, or a discount, I should be saying. And then lastly was the cost for additional containers. This actually means an increase for, actually this is the same for Republic. It's $5 monthly. Meridian is $2 monthly, and then Waste Management is $3 for refuse or $5 for recycling. So some other comments I would like to make about how we kind of decided and reviewed about these contracts is, one of the concerns that I have with switching providers at the moment is the constraints, the supply chain constraints, excuse me. Right now, we are seeing about a year to 18 months back orders for new trash cans. In addition to that, we have, it's hard for these trash haulers to acquire new vehicles, new trucks, and new equipment to expand their service area. What I'll point you to is on this first sheet where I'm comparing the bid tabulations is Meridian Waste. Meridian Waste actually said that, realistically, for us to be able to expand our services into the city of Ferguson, we would need the city to help share the cost of the startup costs. So what they would want to do is we would have to pay them $45,000 just to assist them in getting the trucks and the equipment and the trash cans necessary distributed throughout our community to ensure that service is not interrupted. What I'll say is that, we've had a couple of hiccups here and there over the past year with our service with Republic, but Republic has always been really expedient at resolving those issues when we bring those issues to their attention. And the issues, even though there might have been an uptick compared to prior years, is something that a lot of cities are seeing regardless of their hauler due to labor shocks from the pandemic and the increase in the amount of trash that's being generated with everybody at home. So kind of finalizing my presentation is just, all of those things were taken together and making that recommendation to you tonight to go for the city to go forward with the agreement with Republic Waste.
Councilwoman Lipka.
So I just want to reiterate too that, you know, with the COVID and everything else, I was paying attention to these things. I like paying attention to general society and life in general and how things have changed and been affected and what that long-term change is looking like. With that being said, if we were to go with any of the other two, they would have to get trash cans to take care of our city. So they would have to go and get more trash cans. There is no ability truly to get trash cans right now with the supply chain. So that is a big problem in regards to the supply chain situation. Also, I would like to point out too, that when we had some very real concerns about our senior citizens getting their tree limbs and things like that taken care of during COVID, Republic was very open to figuring out what we could do, you know, figuring out a way to take care of it. And they've also been pretty awesome in other different capacities to our city just because they want to be a good neighbor to us. So I would just say that would be my take on it. I think that the service we're getting, I mean, even if we did go with someone else, we would have to keep in mind that if we go with someone else, we would have to wait quite a while for our trash cans. We would have to have situations with different events going on and so forth. So that's all I've got. I'm kind of rambling. I apologize.
Okay, Councilwoman Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor. I remember, I believe that was the Republic came out and provided us with a presentation. And at that point, I had asked the question about whether or not we would be interested in looking at what it would cost to service the apartment complexes. I know how it stands currently right now. They are responsible for taking care of their trash, and there may be something that we definitely need to look into because if some of the residential streets had trash cans like the ones that I see in the apartment complexes, it would be like it would be a complete problem. And so my question was, one, was that I know at the time Republic had mentioned that they would be willing to provide that information. And so my question is, was that an ask that the city looked into when comparing these three different companies as well? Or was that just off the table?
That was not included in the RFP. I did reach out to City Council about 2 weeks before that was released. And I had asked the question if anything needed to be included in the RFP. That wasn't communicated to me, so I apologize that was not included.
Would it be something that we could discuss with them even now? Because as Fran said, she did bring it up and the lady was open to talking about different ways to remedy that.
You know, Joelle is actually here today. So Joelle, are you able to answer what the city could do to maybe expand?
Yes, good, pardon me, good evening, everyone. Our proposal has been submitted in response to the RFP. So with service starting on April, you know, the current contract expires on the 31st of March. I don't think there's anything we can do right now to get an inclusion of those multifamilies. But with that being said, there is a statute out there that a multifamily that is under a contract to get those included in a residential contract, there's like a 2-year period that they need to be communicated with so they can fulfill their contract with those current. So if it is something that you're interested in, it's probably something that we need to start, or the city needs to start now by looking at your ordinance and seeing about including them, you know, with your residential contract. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Thank you. Good evening, Joelle. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Thank you for asking. Good
to be talking back with you. I think that it is crucial that we make that happen for what Fran had put in. And I would like to ask for an extension of, I know that the contract has been put in, I know all about that. but I do know that there are circumstances in a contract where that could happen. I could see you not wanting to push that back, but I'm wondering, would you take that to the table under consideration? I do remember back last year when we had a situation where it was put to us that the seniors would have to take their trash to another location in order for them to be serviced for not their trash, but for their yard waste. And I really appreciated how you went to bat for that and made it happen. We were not going to subject that. So just talking from a negotiator, union negotiator standpoint, I would like for you to put that on the table, that that's something that we really do want to consider. And I don't know why it hadn't been considered before. And I do take responsibility for us not getting it in the RFP, but I want to know, would you go that extra mile and check it out for us?
Well, I would definitely commit to working with Eric, the city manager, and seeing what can be done. We are going to need to start a contract though, effective April 1st. So, but it's something that, we can amend and look into, but it's going to start with, the ordinance and working there. And I would be more than happy to work with Eric in starting that process.
That's what we would like for you to do. And Eric, if you would need my assistance, I'd be more than happy to sit down with you and Joel. Joel, we already had an appointment to sit down anyway, so let us go ahead and do that now. I think that is most important for our citizens. Thank you so very much.
Councilwoman Lipka.
I would like to bring up one detail about the apartments. I don't have a problem with the conversation, but each apartment management company has to go into a contract with a waste management provider of some sort. So we have to be careful in regard to that, because the city can't come in and bump out somebody's service. If the apartment management company has a contract with another waste management program, that is something that has to either play out or it has to be brought to the table to discuss. If the city wants to go to the apartment complex and say, hey, we have a problem because the contract you have with this waste management company is not providing the proper waste management that we want for our citizens in our city. So we need to be careful, because those are some areas that we can't step on toes, but we do have requirements. We do have standards. I think Fran's right. If she can go through and see areas of major concern, then I think we have to keep in mind that, one, our first step is to talk to the management company. Two, our second step is to find out what their waste management contract is. And three, our third step is to find out, can we then put our waste management, being Republic, in action for that part of the community. So that's all I have.
Linda, I beg to differ with you on what the steps are. And so I think I would leave that to Eric and to Joel to decide what we do. I do completely understand the process. And so I think that what we'll do is we put it forth to Joel what we want. Eric is in the lead. And so I don't want us to decide for them what step 1, step 2, step 3 is. I think that Fran has already asked for it to be done. And if we can get that, that's what we're looking for. I would say do their job. And I don't think any step left unturned to what we can do for our citizens. Fran, thanks so much for bringing.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say, yeah, it was just for a quote. I understand they do have contracts, and so that's definitely going to play a part. But I do remember, I believe that was Joel that came in and did the presentation for us. And that was definitely something that we were interested in at least receiving the prices for. So thank you. I would appreciate it. I appreciate your willingness to work with Mr. Osterberg to come up with those numbers.
Yes, so that, just to be clear, there was some language used as a quote, and it's not that simple. So I totally support that Eric and I can get together, right, Eric? And we can get the process started, but that's nothing that's going to happen within probably I would guess at least the first couple of years due to that statute. There's a 2-year limitation, but we can definitely get the ball rolling. And when multifamilies are included in a residential contract, it does secure pricing for those multifamilies. It does help somewhat subsidize the cost of a single family home. And it's, you know, less haulers on your street. So there definitely is a benefit to it. So, but starting April 1st, we'll have to start with the contract that Eric and I and the attorneys are going to negotiate, and we can totally work towards that, and we can start as early as next week. Eric and I can get together.
Awesome. Good call.
Okay, we need a motion and a second for approval.
Go for it, Fran. You're muted. You're muted.
My mouse wouldn't work. I apologize. So moved.
Is there a second?
Phaedra Nelson, second.
Okay, Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Burrow. Councilwoman Burrow. I'll come back. Councilwoman Robinette.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
I recuse myself.
Councilwoman Lipka.
So I have a nonprofit called Angels at Work, and I run an event called the Taste in Ferguson. And Republic and I work together in the Taste of Ferguson with them providing trash cans for our event. And then I provide DJ music for their Susan G. Komen race. So we have a trade that we do. So, and then there have been times in years past where Republic has been a financial sponsor to our event. So with that being said, Mayor, I want to ask you, because when Wesley Bell was on the council, he had made a precedent that if he was clear with what his connection was, he could still vote. My question to you is, that was under a different mayor. What do you want under your mayorship?
Well, if you make a clear explanation of what you do with Republic, I think that would work, simply because I too work with Republic. They donate monies to the city of Ferguson to be used for the back to school program. So it's not exactly money given to me, but given to Ferguson for the back to school program. So attorney, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, my advice is the same regarding conflicts. You know, conflicts don't require recusal, they just require, you know, complete disclosure of the relationship and of what it is. And then, you know, I mean, I will say it is, you know, it's probably the safest, most above board thing to do is to recuse yourself, just to, you know, not to be above reproach. But however, it's not required. Recusal is not required. It's just a thing that you need to disclose to everyone what your relationship is.
Okay. Well, I am going to recuse myself then from this, just to be above board, and I want everybody to know that I am very, very happy with their service, and I think they're a great partner to the city.
Councilwoman Nelson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Noah.
Aye.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Aye.
And it looks like Councilwoman Burrow was, I guess, knocked out of the meeting. She may be back. Councilwoman Burrow.
I'm back in. I didn't hear anything was going on. I'm sorry. I don't know how I got knocked out.
Okay, so right now we are taking the vote for resolution 2022-11 to contract with Republic Services.
Aye.
Resolution number 2022-11 passes. We move to the next item on our agenda, bills requiring first reading. Bill number 7222, it's being introduced by Councilwoman Noah. And I'm asking, if we would like to introduce the bill by Council President also.
Nay.
Aye. Aye.
Someone needs to mute. Anyone else?
I do not understand where we are with this. Are we taking a vote on this being a first reading?
Yeah, this being the first reading, and Councilwoman Naquita Noah is introducing the bill. And I'm asking, do we want to include it with council members present?
No.
I do not. Aye.
I do an aye.
Wouldn't this be a situation, Mayor, where if Councilwoman Noah introduced the bill, you just let her be the person that introduces the bill, and then it doesn't have to be all members present. It doesn't have to be a majority, does it?
No, it does not, but it's just being together, that's all.
Well,
But
then why don't we just let her have her moment and let her introduce the bill? That way we don't have dissension. This is what she wants.
There's
Just
none.
let her-
I'm okay with what the process that we just completed.
I'm just talking to the mayor about it, so.
Okay, so the bill will be introduced by Councilwoman Noah. Okay,
Okay.
Attorney Carey, could you please read the bill?
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 7222. An ordinance amending chapter 47 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ferguson, Missouri, and by a new Article 3 as it relates to mobile food vendors, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, providing for the current maintenance of the code, and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances.
I have some
City
questions about this.
Let me get to the city manager.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, City Manager Eric Osterberg, please explain.
It was, we heard from the mayor that that there were councilors who wanted this reintroduced. That's all I know.
At this time, no action is taken for first readings.
Can we ask questions though? Because I do have some.
Yeah, yes, you
Okay.
can.
Thank you. So in the bill, I mean, we already passed this last meeting and we passed it as it was written. Now it's being reintroduced with changes to it. And in section 47-31 definitions under B, mobile food vehicle, it has the phrasing and/or sold struck out. Now, where you have that, it says any person, whether owner, agent, consignee, or employee who, for any period of time, operates a mobile truck, trailer, or cart from which food is prepared, and then this is struck out, and/or sold for immediate consumption that is not permanently fixed to a single location. So when you read that again, it's basically, it says mobile truck, trailer, or cart from which food is prepared for immediate consumption that is not permanently fixed to a single location. Mobile food vendors shall be permitted to operate subject to the regulations. So basically, this is going to rule out the ice cream man. I mean, the ice cream guy who drives around your neighborhood and rings the bell, if he's not making ice cream right there on the truck, he can't sell it. You know, it rules out the guy who has a pit that's attached to his trailer and he sets it up in the behind him and he's barbecuing and he's not in his trailer, then he's ruled out. So I think that that needs to be put back in there. And then when you go down to section 47-32, section G, proof of insurance policy in the amount of $50,000 and $100,000, $10,000 issued by an insurance company permitted to do business in the state, covering all claims for damages to property and bodily injury, including death, which may arise from operation under or in connection with the permit or permit. Such insurance shall name the city as an additional insured and shall provide that the policy shall not terminate or be canceled prior to the expiration date without 30 days advance written notice to the city. So that section, such insurance shall name the city as additional insured, has been taken out. And when we talked about this last council meeting, and the question was asked about indemnification requirement, the question was asked to Apollo, and Apollo said, well, you could take it out and you could have an indemnification requirement, but there's not even one in this new bill. So if you're going to take that out, we need to have, first of all, taking it out, I don't think is right. So my question is, does the bill that we're looking at tonight have any indemnification requirement? Because I can't find it. And so I guess that's to you, Apollo. Do you have anything in there? Because I didn't find it.
Well, so I have not, I didn't change the ordinance. It was done by the folks introducing the ordinance.
Okay.
My opinion is still the same. I think you can remove the language that you're asking to remove, but again, I've already explained to you that what the subsequent legal ramifications are, or I've explained to the council, what the subsequent legal ramifications are. It becomes much more difficult, to get paid under the insurance policy. You're not a named insured, you're not defended directly by the insurance policy, those kinds of things. But so it's it's up to the council now. You just have to make whatever business decision you think you need to make.
So with no indemnification requirement, the city would have to defend themselves and pay for the judgment, right?
If there is no indemnification requirement in the language, the answer to that question is yes. And even if there is an indemnification requirement, the city would still have to pay up front and then have to get its money on the back end.
See, and that was the next question I was going to have. So, because if there was only an indemnification and no additional insurance clause, and a lawsuit was filed against the vendor, which then of course would be also against the city, first of all, who's going to defend the city? Because it's not, is it going to be you? Who's going to defend the city? Because if it's you, that's an additional cost to the city. But also, if there's only an indemnification and no additional insured clause and a judgment was obtained against the vendor and the city, who pays the city's judgment? And how do we enforce that indemnification? Because, like the grandma always said, you can't get blood out of a turnip. So, who's defending us and who is going to pay the city's judgment and who's going to get the money back? So those are the questions I have for you, Apollo.
Yeah, so you could add, so indemnification is one concept that we like to talk about. There are other concepts such as hold harmless and defend. A lot of times you have in indemnification clauses, it reads, they have to indemnify, hold harmless, as well as defend, right? And so when you have all three of those concepts in the language, that's a little bit tighter of a situation, because then not only are you indemnified, meaning you get to recoup costs that you incur, but they also have to defend, which means if you're sued, the truck owner would have to also defend us, and then they would also have to hold us harmless in the event there's a judgment against us. So you could have all that information in there, but without all that information and without all that language, then it's if the city gets sued, the city gets sued, and the city has to pay.
Right. And the other thing, I'm trying to figure out what the concern is, because listing the city as an insurer or as part of the insured is just a preliminary aspect to doing business. I mean, when you own a business, you get liability insurance and you have to list the location or wherever you're going to be. Every food truck owner that I know as a friend who does these things, this is part of doing business. This is what they do right up front. It's a write-off part of doing business. But the other thing is, there are some companies that charge exorbitant amounts for adding a business or adding a city to your insurance. Those are usually insurance, 99% of the time, those are usually insurance companies that don't typically handle food truck industry, don't typically handle those things. Because what you're really looking for is a COI. You're looking for a certificate of insurance that is posted and is taken care of through your insurance company if you're a food truck owner. And most insurance companies that work regularly with food truck owners don't even charge for that. You just got to let them know. They print it off, they send it over to you. It's got your city or wherever you're going to be working that weekend on there. The other thing is, if they do charge, they usually charge a very small amount. You're looking at about $25 to $100, or you can go with a yearly, which is what my friends do who own food trucks, and you pay $500 and it covers you to get that certificate of insurance anywhere, everywhere you go for that whole year. So it's an investment, you know, in your business. I think what we have here, by taking this clause out about insurance, we're putting the city at risk. We're putting our future business with food trucks at risk too. I don't think that this is a negative, and I would encourage that if it is a bone of contention or a concern of Councilwoman Griffin or any other councilwoman on here, that we leave the ordinance as it's been approved. We don't make these changes. And then we also attach to any application for food truck licensing in Ferguson a list of insurance companies that do business properly like this. I think we can be of benefit to these entrepreneurs and help them find the right people. I can tell you from my own business, I carry $1 million liability coverage. I pay for it every year. My insurance is $85 a month. I've been, you know, it's the way it works. And whenever I need a COI, all I got to do is call them or send a request. They send it to me, print it off, send it to my venue. But it's part of doing business. And I will also point out one more thing. In our redevelopment agreement that we are getting ready to talk about with the senior citizen development, if you go and look in that redevelopment agreement at section 15, we require this from our own redevelopment projects. In section 15, we have in here general liability insurance. During the term of this agreement, developer shall maintain commercial general liability insurance covering claims for bodily injury or death, property damage, or personal injury arising from the performance of the services contemplated by this agreement, with a per occurrence combined single limit of not less than $5 million. Such insurance policy shall cover claims arising from or related to broad form property damage liability, provide coverage for contractual liability, and name the city as an additional insured. This isn't something we're doing to be mean. This isn't something we're doing to pick on anybody. We carry general liability insurance requirements on every single project that we do. So my question is, why are we trying to put the city at risk when we can offer assistance to potential entrepreneurs by giving them the proper information to get insurance from companies that will treat them fairly and allow them to have the proper COIs necessary for free or for a very low cost? Why can't we do it that way? I'm done now.
Okay, City Manager Eric, you had your hand up. Then Councilwoman Griffin, I thought she had her hand up, but anyway, Councilwoman Nelson, then Councilwoman Burrow, City Manager.
Yes, good evening, Council. I had one issue that I wanted to bring forward to your attention related to the removing the and/or sold for immediate consumption language that poses a complication for code enforcement. So I want to just kind of walk you through something that would be a potentiality here with this language removed, which is that if there are multiple businesses who are food trucks operating throughout the city, and one of the businesses happens to be selling like chips or soda or something of that matter out of their food truck, technically the language, by removing that language, that would be a prohibited sale that's not covered by their license. And we would have an issue where our code enforcement officers might get called to by one food truck owner to go try to punitively punish another food truck owner, which is something that I think we'd want to avoid. I'd also just say that it's very common for food trucks to have, a couple of items that they're making on site, but then they also have, sodas available or candy or what have you that's not covered, that is allowed, that they would sell. To kind of, make it a more full meal. And then my other concern would be the way that language impacts ice cream trucks, or makes it unfair that ice cream trucks have the ability to have prepackaged goods, because currently right now within our ordinances, we allow ice cream trucks to operate within residential areas. They are allowed to sell prepackaged goods that are not made within the food truck. So I just wanted to bring that kind of consistency issue and then the enforcement issue to your attention in your consideration.
Okay, Councilwoman Nelson.
Okay, I guess I understand the concern regarding the insurance. That wasn't my issue. The and/or was my issue, and the issue was because I wanted to make sure that we were allowing all possible food trucks, whether it's ice cream trucks, food trucks, the Metro Market bus, that they will all have access to the city, even if it's at a bar area, like a school, a boarded place, or like a school, that we have that opportunity to be able to have those options in. So that was my.
So I think to accomplish that, Counselor, what we want to be looking at is eliminating R1C from the list of prohibited areas in the city, because all of the schools are in R1C. So by removing, again, R1C from the prohibited areas, that would allow for what you're discussing, the Metro bus and whatnot, and food trucks for that matter, to be parked at schools.
Okay.
So Phaedra, would that mean you would be back, you would be back to being okay with that phrasing being in there, just as long as R1C is added?
That the R1C is removed, right?
I thought it was added.
It would be removed. So currently at the, I'm looking at section 47-31B, that final line, it reads, with the exception of city-owned parks, mobile food vendors are prohibited in the R1A, R1B, R1C, R1D, R2, R3, R4 zoning districts. So all of our schools are in R1C.
Okay.
So we switch out the red line, right, Phaedra? We make what's currently red black again, and then we put the red line through the R1C.
R1C. Unless Councilwoman Griffin, you have something different that you were looking at. But yeah, that's what I was about, Linda.
Whoa, hold up. Just hold up for a minute. Councilwoman Griffin had dropped off. Now it's Councilwoman Burrow's turn, then Griffin.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, because I think, Fran, you lost your spot. So go ahead. You can go ahead. I don't mind. Because I got picked up a while back and I didn't know what was going on. So go ahead.
You. No, thank you, Faye. I appreciate that, Councilwoman Burrows. Actually, I would be in favor of eliminating RC1, removing it instead of the and/or sold, just for that reason. In regards to the last sentence in the section that had to do with insurance, I just want to clarify, because there was a lot of things that was mentioned. The last sentence does not completely remove insurance. It still requires the businesses to have insurance. But let me just tell you a little story about my friends that have food trucks, because My friends that have food trucks are starter businesses. My friends that have food trucks are paying overhead and they're trying to get to a point where they can become successful entrepreneurs. But as any business owner knows, the first 5 years are hard to get started. So when we talk about what has happened regionally, I know when we discussed this before, I mentioned what was it? The Muni Shuffle. And the Muni Shuffle was basically where poor people, because they could not find themselves getting out of debt, would have to go all through these municipalities because that was the standard process. Because the cities themselves were looking out for the interests of retaining and upholding and upkeeping an entity versus what was best for the residents, just keeping them in a state of where they have to constantly pay fees, fines, fees. So in my mind, I'm looking at this in the same aspect. You talking about businesses, we're talking about trying to get businesses started, and we're trying to get things going here. And what you're in all essence is requiring additional coverage for a city. To me, if that becomes the standard, then I could see how impactful it would be for mobile truck units that go into multiple municipalities. If that's going to be if that is the standard, I could definitely see the impact in that. And so while I don't have any completely rich friends that are comfortable paying that, because to them it's a write-off, for some companies, having that additional insurance is an additional, it's even harder. It makes it even harder for them. And I thought we were at the place where we were going to look at what we could do to make life, to make business, to make entrepreneurship easier, more obtainable for those who have least. That's what equity is considered. You got equality and you got equity. What we're doing in this particular situation is we are implementing equity. We as a city, to Apollo's point, the clauses, and from what I understand, the clause, it maybe I need some clarity from Apollo on that, because you did mention, that as long as the clause was listed within there, and I'm assuming that will be within a contract, because clauses are usually in contracts, correct? Were you stating that the clause would have to be in the actual ordinance, or it really wouldn't make a difference if the wordage was in there or not, because the clause just existed itself?
I don't know that I understand what you're asking.
So before, as it was written, as the bill was written, it didn't have any clause in there. And I know when we last spoke about this, in reference to Bill 7220, the conversation was, you would explain, well, it doesn't indemnify the situation. So if you have the wordage in or not, it still doesn't, they're still going to be held liable for whatever it is that, you see what I'm saying?
So what I think I explained was the issue is removing the named insured requirement, whether or not the city be named, a named insured or not. Mm-hmm. Said was, if the city was not named, was not a named insured, which is probably still the best way to do it, to make sure the city is ironclad for purposes of liability. However, if the council wanted to make the decision that you didn't want to have the city as a named insured because you're trying to incentivize whatever it is you're trying to incentivize, if you did have indemnification language in the contract with that would somewhat give you some protection, but it is not the same level of protection as including the person or including the city as a named insured on the policy. That is generally what I was saying.
And that's what I understood you to say. I just wanted to make sure that I was certain for what you were saying. So that's why that wordage is that's why that was my initial suggestion, was to remove that last sentence of the additionally insured, starting with sure. And so that was my reasoning. That was my thought behind it. And that's what I thought we could do. That's pretty much it.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to talk about whoever submitted this last bill. Are you willing to put the city at risk? I'm all about entrepreneurship. I have no problem with it at all. And I like to think that I help people when they're wanting to go into entrepreneurship. But at the risk of putting the city at risk. That's what we do here. That's what you got to look at. And that's the bottom line. The bottom line is we put the city at risk. I love food trucks. I give them all the business I can. I stop in the city all the time when I'm in the city. I don't care whose truck it is because my nieces and nephew have food trucks. And I understand what it takes for poor people to have a food truck. That's why I'll stop anytime. So, but we have to consider that we are the voice of the people. And when you think about the masses, do we want to put the city at risk? Should something come up? Should somebody say, you know what, I got sick? Because I've had food poisoning before. And it's not good. It is not good. You can die from food poisoning. And so if somebody got sick off of a food truck that was in our city and somebody sued, somebody's going to have to pay. And the insurance is going to say, you didn't have that with us. So I think if you're wanting to have a business that is part of doing business, I pay. I haven't done business since the pandemic, but I'm still paying for molestation insurance. It costs me $10,000 a year out of my pocket. I don't have anybody giving me money. Some people think, oh, United Way and all these other, I don't have anybody giving me money. I pay out my pocket for that insurance for molestation if anybody touches anybody's child. It's the part that's what I do in order to do business. If you want to have a food truck and you want to serve food in Ferguson, it should be part of doing business. We should not dummy down, if you will, for somebody that wants to be an entrepreneur. They should know it's a part of your business plan. It's a part of your budget. And so I don't apologize for what has to happen when you want to do business in any municipality. So I think you ought to think about what you're asking the city to take on. And we're here. I heard somebody say, I do legislation. And if you want to make legislation, guess what? If you want to make this your city of choice, we need to be able to say, we did the best we could. And so we're giving you some information, Council, that we put the city at risk when we don't do everything that we can. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Robinette.
So I think the point here is that should this sentence be removed from under G, the city's at risk, and without additional language added for, as Apollo was talking about, the indemnification and defend and hold harmless. What you are doing here by passing this, if you vote for this as is, you are putting the city at risk in order to do business because a business doesn't want to add additional insurance at mostly low to very low cost. It's not another, it's not $1,000 a month. It's not cost prohibitive. That's pretty much what people do around here, the St. Louis area as a whole. So I'm just throwing that out there. Should you vote for this as is, the city is at risk, and that's what you're voting for. So just like to point that out. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Councilwoman Linda and then Councilwoman Griffin.
So let's keep in mind that this certificate of insurance is most likely at no cost. At the times that it may cost something, it's a very low cost that is built into your insurance pricing on a monthly basis. At the most, everything that I did research on, Fran, because I wanted to make sure I was coming back to this with proper insurance, listen to me, proper information, was the highest that I could find was $500 a year. Now that's built into your monthly cost. Now, these food trucks already have insurance. They have to have the insurance. So it's built into their monthly cost, if it's even that much. There are some companies out there that do it for free. There are companies out, it's included in their service as an insurance company and so forth. So, you know, the thing is that if they have a fee option and they need insurers named, it's a very low fee option. There's plenty of them. And I appreciate you thinking that my food truck friends are rich, or that my business is rich, or whatever you were referring to, because that's not the case. But thanks for thinking so, because we would like to be. But my friend who owns food trucks, they own multiple food trucks. They own different types of foods, and they do business in all different cities, and they are of African descent, and they have been hardworking entrepreneurs for many, many years. And I get what you're saying, but this is part of what they do this is part of their daily business. This is what they do. They're good with it. The final thing that I would like to put out there is that as council members, we are the overseers of the funding of the city. We are the people that have to protect the funds of the city. And we have to be prudent in our decisions, because if we make a decision that puts us at risk, it puts us out there unprotected and able to be sued, because if somebody gets sick and they're going to sue the food truck, they're also going to sue the city. And if we're not listed on their insurance, then we're going to be sued. God forbid somebody dies from food poisoning, like Tony said. We're going to have issues there, and we have to be prudent with the funds of the city. And this could be something that could be detrimental to the city. The other thing is that we have a situation where with this indemnification and so forth, the indemnification, I can't say that word very well, but with that, we still have the issue. We will be sued. It's a matter of who's going to pay for it, who's going to be the lawyer, who's going to take it to court, who's going to pay those court costs, who's going to pay the judgment. Those are all things that, as Apollo said, come on the back end of indemnification. It doesn't protect the city from a financial disaster. So I just want to put it out there that there is many, many opportunities for the COI to be free, low cost, built into your insurance. And that if we leave this sentence in here, we will be protecting the city, we'll be protecting basically as a partner with this entrepreneur, as well as being prudent and good stewards of our city's finances and our citizens. I'm done.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually think we can do both. Listening to everyone, I was able to, I do feel, let me just be clear, I do feel like that last sentence needs to go out. And I also want to be clear that I do not mean to put the city at risk. And if Apollo's, suggestion about having the specific wordage within the policy would help secure the safety of the city, but also relieve some additional funding for the business, then to me, that would be a resolve. That would be addressing both issues and settling it at that point. So that's
but the
what
problem,
I would say.
Fran, and I see where you're going. You're trying to,
I'm trying to solve the issue. I'm trying to solve the concern that you just said about, not having the clause in the policy to Heather's point, not having the clause in the policy, I'm hearing that. Put the clause in the policy, take the wordage out. The whole goal is not to have to charge additional fees for additional coverage for us, but still have the wordage in there that protects us.
So the problem is, I hear what you're saying, but the problem is there's nothing that protects the city as well as being listed on the insurance. You can do identifications, you
That's
can,
not
yes,
what Apollo just said. That's not what Apollo
what
just said.
Apollo said is that there are,
Speak.
so what Apollo said is that you can put these other things in there, but the best situation is to be listed as one of the insured. And the thing about it is, we as a city, we're not charging them to list us as insured. So that's not a fee on our end. But your concern is that being, let's say you're the food truck owner and you come into Ferguson and it says that you have to list Ferguson on your insurance while you're here. My understanding of your concern, correct me if I'm wrong, is that that would increase your cost of insurance.
That's correct. You just stated that it would cost in some cases $500. And let's just
no. You got to hear what I said.
I said annually. I heard exactly what you said. I heard exactly what you said. You said $500 annually.
Point of order. Point of order.
Yes, ma'am. What are we doing wrong?
Point of order. Linda, excuse me, Councilwoman Lipka has the floor. When she get finished speaking, Councilwoman Griffin, you can speak, but you both can't speak at the same time.
I apologize, Mayor. I'm just trying to work with Ms. Griffin or Councilwoman Griffin because I want to give her opinion a lot of value, but I also feel that I need to clarify where I'm coming from. And my concern is that identification. Thank you. I'm having a really tough time with that word. I apologize. There's still a requirement of the city to defend themselves. And there's still a requirement of if there's a judgment against the vendor and against the city, who pays the city's judgment? I mean, the city's portion of it, who pays that in the identification? And how do we enforce getting our money back in an identification clause? Hold harmless and those things, those are all things that work and they sound good and they're in there. But when you're in a court case, it's a battle and there can always be another way to get around it. When you have the insured listed on the policy, including the city, it's cut and dry, it's solid. And I think and I'm not going to speak for Apollo, but my interpretation of what Apollo said was he was trying to give you, Councilwoman Griffin, some other things, but he did specifically say the best option was to be listed. I don't like the word because I don't want it to sound like I'm coming at you because I'm not. But the only word that keeps coming to my mind is we can't be reckless. If we're reckless in regards to covering ourselves as a city, then we're being reckless with the funds of the city if we get sued. And that is a concern for me. And that's like what I said in the very beginning. If we offer information, we offer names of insurance companies that do this for free or do this at a very low cost, I mean, I think we could at least do that. And that's kind of my compromise for you in the sense that let's keep this clause in there, but let's take it to be good patrons to these entrepreneurs to help them find the insurance that will not be an arm and a leg that you're concerned about. Because they're out there. I found them.
Councilwoman Griffin.
I believe I was talking the first time and Councilwoman Lipka just started asking me questions in the middle of that, but I will wait until she's done.
Please finish.
Okay, thank you. Again, I believe the sentence needs to stay out. Yes, it would be the best option again for the city. I think I went through that explanation of why, and then this time I'm trying to implement some equity here. I think I explained that already. But in regards to charging. It would benefit the entity and not the business. It makes it harder for the business. And if we can put the clause within that wordage, then that would be addressing both concerns while keeping that last sentence out.
Let me share something at this point. When I was an entrepreneur, working full-time as an entrepreneur, working for Mary Kay Cosmetics as a sales director with unit members, the company required all directors to have $1 million insurance policy. And if I wanted to vendor at a place, I had to go back to my insurance company and put that business that I was going to step on and do some business with on the insurance policy. Not only did I need to be insured, but I had to insure the business that I was going into to do some selling, just in case anything happened. You've got to have insurance, and you have to cover the place where you're going to sell your goods. Naquita.
Okay, so can I make a motion to revise, to make a revision? Can we leave the last sentence in and remove R1C and keep in and or sold? So if you need for me to repeat the sections, to go over the sections, I can. I'll just have to pull it up. So with that,
That's enough.
Mayor, can you do, nothing against it, I'm asking a question but if we're on first reading, do we do a motion on first reading?
If we're gonna change it and get it to the second reading, you do.
Okay. I wanted clarification,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, yeah, no problem. State
Let
your
me ask you
motion
a question.
again, Naquita. I
Mayor
mean,
Jones, let me-
Councilwoman Noah, I apologize for calling you by your first name.
that's okay. So let me pull up the sheet. So the motion is to revise the bill. So for section 4731, so we're going to keep and or sold. We're going to remove R1C. And then in section 4732, we're going to keep that last sentence and it starts at G. So the last sentence is such insurance shall name the city as an additional insured and shall provide that the policy shall not terminate or be canceled prior to the expiration date, 30 days advance written notice to the city.
Is there a second?
I second that.
It's properly moved and second that the motion that Councilwoman Noor stated about removing RC-1, keeping and or sold, and keeping the last sentence. Are you ready to vote? City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nelson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Noah. Aye. Councilwoman Griffin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Aye.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Councilwoman Burrow?
I'm sorry. Aye.
Councilwoman
Okay.
Robinette,
Aye.
That's everyone, City Clerk?
yes.
Okay. The motion passes to amend Bill number 7222. Bill number 7223 Without objections, we are introduced by council members present. Attorney Carey, could you please read the bill by title only?
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 7223, an ordinance of the city of Ferguson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute a mutual aid box alarm system agreement.
City manager,
Yes, Fire Chief John Hampton is here tonight to speak more on this item.
Mayor, Council, this is an agreement between Illinois and Missouri fire departments. This is a perfect example is a tornado that happened over at the UPS facility. Without this agreement, no Missouri department could respond over to Illinois and vice versa, come in from Illinois to Missouri for mass casualties or any other incidents. So I'm in St. Louis County. If you're a municipality, this has to be passed by an ordinance, and this will be in the Greater St. Louis Fire Chiefs Association's agreements, overall mutual aid agreement.
thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
At this time, no action is taken for the first reading. Bill number 7224, without objections, were introduced by council members present. Attorney Carey, could you please read the bill by title only?
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 7224, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Ferguson, Missouri to execute the deed and acknowledge other documents in order for the real properties to be transferred to the city for development and or beautification.
City manager,
Yes, good evening, City Council. This is the ordinance that goes that allows for us to acquire the land necessary for the property restoration program off the post-third list of the county. Elliot is here if you have any further questions.
see no hands raised for questions. At this time, no action is taken for the first reading. Bill number 7225, without objections, were introduced by council members present. Attorney Carey, could you please read the bill by title only?
Yes, ma'am, sure. Bill number 7225, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a redevelopment agreement with LMAC Holdings LLC for the purpose of redevelopment of 10607 New Halls Ferry Road to be used as an affordable senior housing unit in the city of Ferguson.
City manager,
No comment on this from city management, actually.
at this time, no action is taken for the first reading. We move to bills requiring second reading. Bill number 7221. I'm requesting a motion and a second to read the bill a second time and place upon its passage. A motion and a second?
So moved, Heather Romanet.
Second.
Attorney Carey, could you please read the bill?
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 7221, an ordinance of the city of Ferguson, Missouri, granting a special use permit to Jacqueline Phillips and Gerald Johnson for the purpose of operating an event space open bar at 3156 Pershall Road, subject to the conditions, restrictions, and requirements set forth herein.
City manager, do you have anything else to add?
I do not.
Council members, do you have any additional questions? Hear none. Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Nelson. Councilwoman Nelson. Okay,
Did you
I'll
hear
come
me?
back.
Oh, she's there.
I said aye. Okay. Councilwoman Noah.
Aye.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Sorry, aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka.
Aye.
Bill number 7221 passes. I'm requesting a motion and a second to move item number 6D from the table, which is the liquor license for approval of Deja Vu 2.
Didn't we already do that, Mayor?
We tabled it, and now I'm asking you to remove it from the table so we can vote.
So we just pushed it back in the agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me why?
Because we did not want to approve liquor license before we approve the special use permit.
So let me ask one more question. The special use permit is for Jacqueline Phillips and Gerald Johnson's business. Does this mean it's going to be called Deja Vu 2? I thought it was a different entity.
I did too.
The liquor license application lists Deja Vu 2. Now, they're doing business as Deja Vu 2, but their actual business name is Need LLC or something like that. But the actual name of the establishment that would have the license is Deja Vu 2 based off that application.
So that's what'll be on the front of the building, so to speak.
I can't speak to the signage, but that's what the actual liquor license, that's who it'll be issued to.
Okay, so is this a question that we would need? Well, first of all, before I go any further, I want to get back to what you were trying to accomplish, Mayor, of moving this to where you want to move it to.
Yes, we put it on the table, and now I'm asking you to take it off the table to vote for the liquor license.
Okay, what do you need for us to take it off the table? Does that require a motion?
A motion and a second.
Okay, I make a motion that we take it off the table.
A second.
It has been properly moved in second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Now, City Clerk, could you explain about the liquor license?
Yes, an application has been made for liquor license approval for Deja Vu 2. And it's at 3156 Pershall Road. Ms. Phillips was on the call. I saw her some time ago. I hope she's still here now. Okay, so that she can go into exactly the purpose of their business. To answer the question about the special use permit, I believe Elliot is here as well, but the special use permit just allowed them to operate in that particular space. It does not allow the sale of alcohol. They would actually need a license for that.
That is correct.
Okay. So can we ask Ms. Phillips a question, Mayor?
Yes, you can.
All right, Ms. Phillips, what is going to be the doing business as? What is going to be the name of your business?
Deja Vu 2.
Oh, it is. Okay. So does that mean basically he's just moving his location?
No, ma'am, that wasn't the name of his establishment.
I thought he had a Deja Vu 2.
It was Deja Vu Cafe 2.
Okay. So is that registered as a DBA for your LLC?
No, ma'am.
Do we need that to be done, Apollo?
The Deja Vu 2 is.
Oh, okay. So Deja Vu 2 is listed as a DBA on your LLC, which is on here. What is the name of your LLC? I thought it was something care.
That's my other business, the home care, but it's Needs LLC.
It's, what is it, hun?
Needs LLC.
So Needs LLC is the one buying the business, starting the business with a DBA of Deja Vu 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that all listed properly in this liquor license request, Apollo and Octavia?
we should have a copy of the DBA registering the DBA. If we don't, we should.
Do we have that, Octavia? Is she here?
She's still here.
Oh,
Octavia,
I'm sorry. I was just answering you. No, I have all the documentation from them. Yes, they've already submitted all the necessary documents.
Awesome. Then there's no big deal. All right. I would just, when we're doing liquor licenses and things like that, I just want to make sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. So awesome. No problem. Thank you very much, Mayor, for letting me ask those questions.
Okay, I'm requesting a motion and a second to approve the liquor license.
Tony Burrow, so moved.
Linda Lipka second. Or I'm sorry, who, let Phaedra, if you're, go ahead.
Phaedra Nelson second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Liquor license are granted to Deja Vu 2. At this time, do we have any unfinished business?
No, I think that we might want to congratulate Ms. Phillips. She looked like she's happy.
She's here.
Thank you, Councilwomen.
And Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, and Mayor, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Jacqueline. You're welcome.
Welcome to Ferguson again.
We'll be glad to see you, Jack.
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll be in touch tomorrow morning. I'm sorry for interrupting, to deal with final paperwork.
All right, thanks again, Elliot.
Any unfinished business? Hear none. Any new business?
I have new business. The new business is, I would like to ask the council and the mayor and the city manager if there's an interest in hearing a presentation from Mr. Carlton Stock. He would like to present on Ferguson possibly having an environmental commission as a board or commission. So I wanted to know if you all were interested in having him come and present.
I don't have any problems.
Okay.
I might want to add, let you know that this is something that Carlton has been doing for years. He and his wife are activists, and he serves on the FMA. He and his wife, they're retired pastors from Delwood. He serves on the Ferguson Ministerial Alliance with Ella and I. And one of the things that I do want the council to know, that we have a hard time getting people to sign up for boards and commissions. Yeah. And so we need to take that in consideration. And we've talked to Carlton and Ellie for quite a long time, for many years. And ego is something that is very dear to my heart. But now what they have assured me of is that if we were to take this on as a council, that they have people already in place that could fill a board or a commission, whichever one we decided. They have a strong feeling that this is something that should be handled locally. I will tell this city that this is something that is happening nationally as well as worldwide. So I'm expecting, and I did tell them that they probably could come into play with some of the stimulus money that is going to be given out in that $390-something million that's going to be sitting on the governor's desk. So if we were to play this card right, then we probably could get some funds for the ecosystem. And we did talk with Proud today, and they would be probably good partners, is something that I told them that maybe they should look into. So when you think about this, you can, there are a lot of websites that you can go to let you know what the ecosystem is all about. And if I asked Octavia today about putting some advertisement out on 501, so we'll have to look into that. But we do have a website for the ecosystem that Ellie and Carlton are a part of, and it is out, I believe, on the website, or it will be out on the Ferguson website. So thank you so much, Councilwoman, for bringing that forward.
Yes, because they have been working for years with this particular project. Councilwoman Lipka.
So two things. I would also add to Councilwoman Noah and Burrow that if we get this going now with the Maline Creek and the tearing down of the car wash and getting all of that in order would be an awesome opportunity for that project to coordinate and work with them as well. But I want to follow Councilwoman Noah's lead and ask the council if they would be interested in a presentation from Bryce Robinson. Bryce Robinson has been working very closely with Chesky Park and the sculptures that are brought in there. And he would like to make a presentation to the city council in regards to the future success of that park and bringing in new and different artists and talking to us about how the city has worked with it in the past, what we can do going forward. I think it would also be a very wonderful coordination with what we just heard tonight with the park board study that was presented to us in regards to something unique in one of our parks. So would the council be in favor of allowing Bryce Robinson to make a presentation at a upcoming council meeting?
Can I say one thing, Mayor Jones? I'd like to say this. While we're considering all these presentations and that, let's consider the fact that we've been on this line for 4.5 hours already. And we got a lot of things to go through. Once the mayor and I sit down, and Mayor, I got to tell you that date we're gonna look at is the 21st while it's on my mind. But we've got a lot of things to bring before the city and discussions and open discussions. So let's be mindful of all the things that we have to do in the next couple of months. And I believe that we have budget coming up. I know Eric got a lot of things that he wants us to do. So I am in favor of presentations by anybody that wants to do a boards and commission, but I don't want to spend 4.5 to 5 hours because we got presentations. Please be mindful of that.
Councilman Burrow, maybe we create an opportunity to have presentations, have a time limit, as well as maybe 30 minutes prior to the council meeting. Just a thought.
That's a wonderful thought, Mayor. You might want to consider a lot of things that we do with the Kiwanis Club. We have a presentation once a month. Pedro is part of that in one of our clubs, and another club, we have it once a quarter. So that's a good thought because it is done in a lot of other clubs as well.
That's a great idea. So anyone that would like to make a presentation for the next council meeting, please send an email to one of your council members or the city manager or myself or the city clerk, and we will get together and come up with how many we're going to hear at a particular time. Will that work for everyone?
I think that's beautiful.
Okay. All right. That any other new business? Okay, let's move to miscellaneous, starting with Councilwoman Noah. Can't hear you.
Sorry, here I go. So happy International Women's Day. And I just want to say thank you to the Ferguson staff. March 4th was Employee Appreciation Day. And so just thank you all for your effort towards our city. And on Sunday, February 20th, I had the opportunity to meet the Missouri String Team 888. And these guys, they clean a portion of the Maline Creek that is in Ferguson. You know, and in case you all didn't know, there's history, dates, the Missouri stream teams date back to 1993. And it was just, you know, interesting to see. What they do is they take samples. So they take samples every Sunday at 1 p.m. from the 1st of November to the end of March every year. Across from Forestwood Park, we went across the street and we went down in the creek and they took a sample of the water. And they monitor for the salt that's in the water. The technical term is chloride monitoring. So we learned that healthy streams conductivity should range between 150 and 500. The Maline stream in Ferguson has a current level of 2,200, which is extremely high. That's the level of salt conductivity that's in the stream, just so you know. And the 888 stream team noted that a portion of the water in the Maline Creek is ultimately filtered into our drinking water. It's just, you know, something to be mindful of. Lastly, I would just like to ask everyone to stay engaged in the beautification of our community because it's very important. You know, we made a choice to live here and prosper in the city of Ferguson, and it is our responsibility to keep it beautiful. And I just would like to say, you know, thanks everyone. Your support and dedication is much appreciated. And that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Would you share about the random act of kindness that you did for the staff?
Well, it wasn't just me. It was the council, then the mayor.
Yeah.
It was all of us, but we just delivered donuts to the different departments. Just again, just to say thank you for all that you do for the city and for the residents.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. North Hills neighborhood community is having a meeting on Saturday, March 19th at 10 a.m. It is going to be at Mount Zion, located on Blanding. It'll also be Zoom available as well, and flyers are being passed around. So just be sure to look out. I think I did forward that to the city clerk as well. So that information should be posted publicly very soon. That's pretty much it that I have as of right now.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Griffin. Councilwoman Burrow.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor, and all of you that have stayed this late hour with us. I want to let you know about the library and that our consortium is really broadening our reciprocity agreement to cover Scientific Regional Library District and Jefferson City County Library District. This doubles the area in which Ferguson residents can get a free library card, useful for people who go south or west for vacations or just a visit for the family. We've put in new bookshelves by the front doors, and we'll be moving large print books to those bookshelves so our seniors and our low vision patrons won't have to walk as far back. The library will be hosting 2 Zoom events, a city council candidates forum at 6 p.m. on the 21st, and a school board candidates forum that would be on the 23rd at 6 p.m. And I'll send these to you, Octavia. There's so much demand for faxing and copying that we've got another fax and copy machine. We do not charge for these things because times are hard and we know that. So those are as many as you need, we have it for you. We added more Wi-Fi hotspots for checkout to meet the demand. And the library building is fully open and we still require masks. So we will be safe for our people that have compromised patrons and children under 5. So we will be doing social distancing as well. We have chosen our auditor for this year, and we have our books audited every year. So we'll have a new auditor for this year. I do want to talk about just briefly the sermonettes that we had this evening from public comment. You know, one of my favorite stories from the library when I was about 12 years old, I read a book about slaying a dragon. It's a Chinese fable. And the whole book is about, in order to slay a dragon, you got to become a dragon. And so if you don't want to be a dragon, then don't try to slay a dragon. And that's what happens when you bring these sermonettes. And I don't know if you're trying to have, and I'm really saying anybody, that goes for the public comments and for the council as well. If you want to have a wall of shame or whatever it is you're trying to do, it's not working. And when we talk about serving together and working together, that's a two-way street. And it's called agreeing to disagree in some cases. But when you talk about when are we going to get it together, you have to think about that. What I saw tonight was a group of people that came and had a political party in a public forum. That's all that was. You come up and you want to talk about what somebody did or did not do. Let it go. We're trying to get this thing together. And there's no secret. There is no, and I've said this for the last year and a half. We are not together. We all know that. But you don't make it any better when you bring a sermonette. Leave that for the church. Leave that for the church. And don't bring that to this forum. If you want to make this your campaign forum, then just say that's what you're doing. Say you're campaigning for the next 2 years when you want to run again or whatever it is you're doing. But it is plain to me that this is not the place for it. It's not. So help us to do our job by not trying to slay a dragon. That's a metaphor, okay? Just saying that. And for those that really want to talk about sermonettes and this, let's just pray for the Ukraine. Let's just pray for the peace and unity, not just so much for what's happening that could be World War III, but for us in this city, in this state, in this country, in this nation. Let's just pray for that. I appreciate you, Mayor, for giving me the time.
Thank you, Councilwoman Burrow. Councilwoman Robinette.
Really, the only thing I was going to bring up, Tony covered, and that was the League of Women Voters working with the library to bring the candidate forum Monday, March 21st at 6 p.m. So I'm sure the library will have the information for the Zoom link. But I do appreciate the library and the League of Women Voters working to make that happen. I think it's important that, you know, the residents get to hear answers from the candidates and make an informed decision. With that, I will close out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Robinette. Councilwoman Lipka.
So I just want to thank everyone for tonight. I thought we had a very productive meeting. I know it was long, but I really feel like we've had a productive meeting. I also would like to take a moment to, I agree with Councilwoman Noah. It is International Women's Day, and a woman who graduated from an all-female college. I have a great love for this day. And it couldn't be more appropriate and beautiful that Delaney Knowles, our past mayor, his little girl, who has been fighting cancer at her young age, got to ring the bell today because she got over her cancer. So little Miss Delaney, who's proven to all of us adults that she's a strong, tough girl, rang the bell on International Women's Day. So that is awesome. I also want to thank Mike Palmer and his gang of merry trash picker-uppers for the work they did on Saturday. The Ankin Brands and Jerry Beverly answered the call, and they cleaned up a nice big section of West Florissant. So great job to them. And then on a personal note, I celebrated my daughter's birthday yesterday. And so I just wanted to share that with all of you that, you know, it was a good day, and so I hope everybody has good days where they get to think about the people they love. So thank you so much. And that's all I've got, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lipka. Councilwoman Nelson.
Just a couple of things real quick. The Ferguson Eco Team is hosting a cleanup on West Florissant Avenue for Saturday, the 19th at 8:30 a.m. The location is at the Somerset Terrace Drive by the Bank of America ATM across from the Quick Trip. They'll provide bags and gloves and dress well for the weather. So I hope whoever can come out to clean up that area, please join us. And then I wanted to, I know that St. Louis County Councilwoman Retta Days is having a town hall on March the 12th at 11 o'clock. It's a virtual town hall. And they're gonna be talking about funding ARPA funding that they have, that they're sending out surveys, that the county has surveys that are going out for folks to provide information regarding how they would like to see the remaining funds that the county has for our city, especially for North County. And so the more people that respond to the survey, the more chances we'll have of being able to see some of that funding come to North County. That's it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nelson. City Manager Eric Osterberg.
No further comments tonight.
Clerk Pittman.
No comments.
Attorney Carey.
Nothing more from me, ma'am.
Okay, I just would like to share with everyone that this ARPA funding is huge. Surveys are going out from St. Louis County. Ferguson has been a model to other municipalities as to how to engage their citizens, working with the ARPA funding. I attended a mental health seminar today for mayors. We're beginning to work as a region because mental health is affecting all of us. In addition to that, we have a meeting coming up on Thursday, the mayors, where the opioid settlement was $500 million. St. Louis County received $41 million, and the municipalities were not notified. You can ask our attorney. I've been asking him questions. Did we get the information? Ask the city manager, did we get the information? So now we have to meet to see why the municipalities were not notified and included in the settlement. So we have a lot of work ahead of us working together. So let's just continue to mend the bridge and work. At this time, I requested a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved, Tony Guerrero.
Second, Heather Robinette.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, we are adjourned. Have a good night, everyone, the rest of the night.
Good night, thank you.